Chapter 772. Published at 26th of February, 2022, 10:39 and 8 seconds AM. Chapter 772. 772. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 772. How will it taste? What in God's name is going on? How is he doing that? Chi-Man mumbled in a voice of disbelief as he watched Yuan throw the demon left and right like some kind of stress toy. Do you think he still needs our help? Chi-Huan asked in a sarcastic tone. Suddenly, the demon released a deafening roar that shook the world. How dare a puny human play with me? I will make you pay. I will make you pay. The demon's body began growing larger and larger, until it was nearly twice its original size, becoming a mini-giant. Yuan had seen this kind of transformation before from the demon at the Jaded Garden, so he knew that he should stop playing around and actually take care of the demon once and for all before he makes a mistake and gets himself and everyone killed. The demon released another loud roar before summoning two large greatswords with its own blood and wielding it. It then leaped at Yuan with intense bloodlust radiating from its body. However, before it could even begin falling back down, the demon felt something pierce its face. It wasn't painful, but its vision blacked out for a second, and when its vision recovered after the gaping hole in its face was healed, the demon could see that Yuan had suddenly appeared in front of it. In the end, you weren't anything too special besides being a decent punching bag, Yuan said to the demon right before extending his empty hand towards the demon's chest and grabbing the red crystal embedded within, tearing it right out of its body. The demon fell directly to the ground afterward, but it wasn't dead yet. It slowly got back to its feet and looked at Yuan with a puzzled face. What the fuck are you doing? Did you really think that by removing my crystal that it'd kill me? The demon asked Yuan. You can beat me up as much as you want, but you won't kill me, and you will eventually run out of spiritual energy. You can try to seal me, but that also will only prolong your life by a little longer. You don't have the capabilities to kill me. The demon suddenly halted its speech when it realized that its crystal was not returning to its body. Normally, when their crystal is removed, it would return to their body just like the rest of their body. Hence the demon's confusion at this moment. You said that you wouldn't die even if I destroyed this crystal, right? Let's test that theory. Yuan showed the demon his hand, where its crystal was resting. The demon immediately began sweating profusely. The reason the demon said that it wouldn't die even if Yuan destroyed the crystal was simply because it didn't think that Yuan had the capabilities to truly destroy the crystal, since it would simply recover just like the rest of its body. That's not possible. Why you? Who are you? The demon roared at Yuan. You don't recognize me? I thought all demons would recognize my face. Yuan raised his eyebrows. Why the fuck would I recognize a nobody like? The demon suddenly halted mid-sentence again, and it narrowed its eyes to focus on Yuan's face. Perhaps its memories haven't fully resurfaced after being sealed for so long. But as it stared at Yuan's face, the more it got the feeling that it'd seen him somewhere before. After digging through its memories, the demon finally realized why Yuan looked so familiar. Why you? It can't be. The demon began shaking from top to bottom, and its prideful face became filled with fear. What did I use to say? Yuan suddenly began pondering for some reason. Oh right. When he remembered, he slowly approached the demon with a mysterious smile on his face. This was the perfect chance for the demon to strike, but it was so stricken by fear that it couldn't even move properly. Once Yuan was standing right in front of the demon, he mumbled in a low but clear voice. I wonder how your demon core will taste? Almost as though something had triggered inside the demon, it suddenly turned around and began running away like its life depended on it. Visit Rieadle. Me for extra chapters. The scene of the demon running away in fear shocked Qifeng and the others. They couldn't comprehend the situation, nor could they imagine what Yuan said to the demon that would make it react in such a manner. However, before the demon could run very far, Yuan crushed the red crystal in his grasp. And the moment the crystal shattered, the demon also froze its movements. The next moment, almost like it suddenly turned water, the demon melted into a pool of red blood, leaving behind its demon core. Yuan quickly went to pick up the demon core before putting it inside his pocket, saving it for later. It was also at this moment that backup from the Qi family arrived at the scene. Father, Mother, Qiang, are you guys hurt? Where is the demon? The middle-aged man leading the reinforcements asked them. Qi-man didn't say anything and merely lifted his hand to point at Yuan. The middle-aged man turned to look in the direction, but he couldn't see any demons, only a young man. I am going to him, Qi Feng suddenly said as she began running towards Yuan. Wait. Where do you think you're going? The middle-aged man shouted at her. The demon is already gone. That young man defeated it, Qi Huan said, which immediately sent shockwaves through their minds. What? Who even is that kid? I have never seen him before. The middle-aged man exclaimed. A friend sent by the Lord of the Dragon Spiral Mountain, Qi Man said before following Qi Feng. Let's go, Qi Huan said to the middle-aged man, who was still puzzled about the situation and had no choice but to follow them. A few moments later, everyone there gathered around Yuan and the puddle of blood. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 773. Published at 26th of February, 2022, 10:39 and 6 seconds AM. Chapter 773. 773. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 773. As their lecturer, Yuan, is the demon really dead? It won't regenerate from this puddle of blood? Qi Feng asked him once they got to him. I'm pretty sure that it's dead, Yuan replied in a slightly dazed voice. He didn't think he would be able to defeat such a powerful demon with seemingly no effort at all. Not only did his practice at the Demon Sealing Clan's Grand Library help him, but his memories as the Divine Paragon also greatly assisted him today. I still only have fragments of the Divine Paragon's memories. If I recover all of it, demons will no longer be a threat, and will be no different than any other magical beasts. Yuan smiled inwardly. Let's go back to the household now. You can tell us everything once you get yourself cleaned up, Qi Man said to Yuan. He nodded and followed them back to the household. Sometime later, after washing himself, Yuan met up with the Qi family in the meeting room, and there were two more people there this time. The middle-aged man that came with the backup and a beautiful woman who looked almost like Qi Feng. They were the current leaders of the Qi family and Qi Feng's parents. Once Yuan sat down, Qi Man immediately opened his mouth to speak. After witnessing your fight today, I doubt you'll need our help with the demons at the Dragon Spiral Mountain, but since this is what we agreed on, we will help you. Yuan then said. You guys can prolong the seals on demons, right? I would like you to prolong the seals on the 11 demons to give us more time to prepare. The demon I fought today was much stronger than the one in the Jaded Garden, but the demons within the Dragon Spiral Mountain are even stronger than this one. I understand. Qi Man nodded. The Qi family has already been prolonging the seals on the 11 demons since ancient times, so even if Yuan didn't ask them, they would have done it anyway. Since they cannot kill the demons, their only option was to prolong their seals. If there's nothing else, I would like to return back home now, Yuan said a moment later. Actually, there is one thing. Qi Man turned to look at the manager, who nodded her head silently. He then continued. Yuan, the Qi family has one last request for you. Would like you to stay here a little longer as a lecturer. A what? Yuan raised his eyebrows. A lecturer, Qi Man repeated. Would like you to teach our demon sealers how to kill demons. As you probably already know by now, there are still more demons out there. Our Qi family has tracked dozens of sealed demons across the world, but the only thing we can do is prolong their seal until their inevitable release. We want to be able to kill them just like you did today. Wait. Did you just say dozens of sealed demons? Yuan had a look of disbelief on his face at this moment. Yes, and there could be even more that we don't know about, such as the one sealed in the Jaded Garden. Qi Man sighed. And you want me to teach the demon sealers in your family? I don't think I qualify. Yuan shook his head. If you, who killed a demon, don't qualify to teach, then nobody in our family qualifies. Please. You're our only hope. Yuan took a moment to ponder. After a few minutes of silence, Yuan asked him, "How long?" "I have to return home in 3 weeks. Then 3 no. 2 weeks is more than enough." Man raised 3 fingers before making it 2. Yuan nodded. "Okay, I will stay here for 2 more weeks to teach your Qi family, but after that, I really have to return home." "Thank you, Yuan," Man said with an ecstatic expression on his face. "Then we will start tomorrow morning. I want to rest for the rest of today." "Of course. Chier, bring him to his room," Man said to her. "What? Why do I have to do that? We have servants for that." Fong frowned. However, when she saw her grandparents' and even parents' cold glares, she swallowed nervously and stood up. "Let's go," she said to Yuan without even looking at him. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Did something happen between them? Her mother asked the grandparents after they left. "Not that I am aware of, but there's clearly something between them." Man shook his head. Meanwhile, Fong brought Yuan to a small shed behind their main building, but it looked more like a place for tools than guests. "This is my room?" Yuan raised his eyebrows. "If you've got a problem with it, you can sleep outside," she coldly responded. "Are you still mad at me for sealing you? I just wanted you to have a taste of your own medicine, that's all. Not to mention that you sealed me first. For a minute. You left me there for an entire day. Do you have any idea how terrifying it feels to be sealed for so long? I really thought I was sealed for good. In my defense, if the Chu family didn't interrupt, I would have let you out sooner. Anyways, I helped your family defeat the demon, so let's call it even." Fong gritted her teeth in anger, but she did not release it. After a moment of silence, she pointed at the large building not far away from the shed and said, "This doesn't mean I forgive you for what you did to me. If I let you live in this shed, my family would kill me, that's all." She left Yuan alone immediately afterward. Once Yuan entered the room and locked it, he sat down on the floor and retrieved the demon core. After staring at it for a moment, he tossed it inside his mouth and swallowed it. Immediately, he could feel a sudden surge of chaotic spiritual energy rushing into his body. However, this demon core tasted and felt different than usual, and it was painful. "Aya!" Yuan suddenly released a loud roar that shook the building. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 774. Published at 27th of February, 2022, 9:05 a.m. Chapter 774. 774. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 774. Chaotic energy. Shortly after consuming the demon core, Yuan began feeling pain all over his body, and his skin even began turning red, almost as though he was turning into a demon himself. When Fong, who was still in range, heard Yuan screaming, she immediately turned around and ran to his building. "Hey, what's going on? Why are you screaming like that? Open the door." Fong banged on the door as she shouted, but Yuan was obviously too busy to answer the door, and he was in too much pain to even hear her voice. "Answer me when I speak to you." Fong did not have the patience and decided to kick the door down. "Hey, what's wrong with you? What did you do?" Fong was shocked to see Yuan writhing in pain on the floor, and his body was burning red. Fong went to pick him up, but she didn't know what to do from there, so she decided to put him back down and went to call for a doctor. Wait right here. I am going to get a doctor. Don't you dare die on me," Fong said to him before running for help. Meanwhile, Yuan was busy trying to suppress whatever was acting up inside his body. "You silly thing. How could you swallow a demon core belonging to an elite demon in your current state? You're like a child that puts anything you find into your mouth. You're courting death." The divine paragon's voice resounded inside Yuan's head. "Elite demon? What's the difference?" Yuan cried inwardly. Just like how dragons have their own ranks that are based on the purity of their dragon blood, demons have their own ranks based on their demonic blood. All of the demons that you have been fighting before this one were just ordinary demons with ordinary demonic blood. This one, however, is an elite demon with pure demonic blood. And the purer the demonic blood, the stronger their chaotic energy. What happens if I consume something like that? If you were strong enough, nothing would happen, but you're not, so the chaotic energy is trying to destroy your body right now. Listen, if you don't quickly control the chaotic energy, your body will explode into a bloody mess. And how the hell am I supposed to do that? Yuan shouted out loud, feeling as though something was growing within his body. The divine paragon sighed. I will help you control the chaotic energy this time, but if this happens again, you will have to deal with it yourself. After a moment of silence, Yuan suddenly stopped moving and returned to sitting in the lotus position. He took a deep breath and began controlling the chaotic energy inside his body. Very quickly, Yuan could feel his body returning to normal, and his spiritual energy was under control again. However, he could still feel something chaotic inside his body. By the time Qi Feng returned with the doctor, Yuan had already controlled most of the chaotic energy, but it took him all of his energy to do so, causing him to pass out shortly after. The doctor checked Yuan's condition afterward. How is he? Qi Feng asked in a worried voice. Despite her cold attitude towards Yuan, she actually cared about his safety, as he was their only hope in defeating demons for good. He seems fine for now, and his body is stable, but I will need to inspect his body further for a more accurate assessment. The doctor said. I understand. Qi Feng went to notify her family and the manager of the situation once she knew that Yuan was fine for the moment. When her family heard this, they immediately panicked for the same reason Qi Feng had. If Yuan dies, their world and everyone living in it will all die to the demons. What happened? Why did he suddenly collapse? Qi-man asked her. I have no idea. I sent him to his room, and after leaving him alone for a moment, I suddenly heard him screaming. When I arrived, he was on the ground and his skin was burning red. However, by the time I returned with the doctor, he was already back to normal. Looks like we can only ask him after he wakes up. Qi Huan sighed. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Sometime later, the manager called Meishio to let her know of the situation. What? Yuan collapsed and is unconscious right now. What happened to him? I was hoping you could tell me. Does he have any medical conditions that cause him to do this? The manager asked. No, not that I am aware of. So he's never done this before. No. Can I go see him? I want to see his condition with my own eyes. I will have to ask the Qi family for permission first. Give me a minute. The manager then asked the old couple since they were still together. Yuan's friend? Of course. Any friend of Yuan is also our friend. Qi-man quickly agreed. All right, I will come pick you up. I should be there by midnight. Be ready by then. The manager said to Meishio before hanging up. What a pain in the ass. The manager sighed inwardly. She didn't think she'd have to travel back and forth more than once, but alas. While the manager made her way back to the Dragon Spiral Mountain to pick up Meishio, the Qi family watched over Yuan, who would remain unconscious for the rest of the day. After returning to the Dragon Spiral Mountain, the manager reported the situation to the Lord before she went to pick up Meishio. So that's what happened, huh? If you ask me, I think he tried to cultivate the demon core, since his symptoms sound exactly like what happens when someone tries to absorb a demon core like it's a monster core. The Lord said. If someone tries to cultivate a demon core, what will happen to them? The manager asked out of curiosity. Well, to put things simply, they will die a horrible death. However, from what you told me, it appears that he's alive, so I doubt that's what happened. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 775. Published at 28th of February, 2022, 7:18 and 8 seconds p.m. Chapter 775. 775. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 775. Losing his mind anyways. As long as he didn't cultivate a demon core and he isn't dead, do whatever you can to keep him safe. Now that he's proven himself to be valuable, We cannot let him die. Use that treasure even if you have to. The Lord continued to speak. What? You want to waste that precious treasure on him? The manager was shocked. If it can keep him alive, yes. He's too precious for this world to die. But, no buts. You may return to the Chi family now. I understand. The manager sighed before going to Yuan's home to pick up Meishio. However, there was an additional person there. What's this? I only got permission for one person, not two. The manager said as she glared at Chu Liuxiang, who decided to follow along after hearing about the situation. I am not going to stay here while Yuan is suffering. I am going to follow you even if it's the last thing I do. Chu Liuxiang said stubbornly. And she continued. And my master is from the Qi family. They wouldn't refuse me. Whatever. Just get in the car. The manager said to them. Once they were all in the car, the manager began speeding down the mountain like she did with Yuan, but it wasn't as fast. However, unlike Yuan, neither Chu Liuxiang or Meishio said a word regarding her speed, and they would only ask her about Yuan's condition. Like I already said on the phone, I don't know what happened to him. If you want to know, you'll have to ask him after he wakes up. Once they arrived at the airport, the manager told the two of them to press the red button and watch the plane before going off to sleep, leaving them speechless. Meanwhile, Qi Feng was ordered by her family to stay with Yuan until he wakes up. What? Why do I have to babysit him all night? I am not his nanny. Why are you guys treating me like this? Did I do something wrong? That's a great question. Did you do something wrong? Qi Huan narrowed her eyes at Qi Feng. Qi Man then said, although we don't know what happened between the two of you, whether you are in the right or wrong, you need to put all of that behind you. Yuan is a valuable friend that we cannot afford to offend. If you offended him in any way, apologize to him when he wakes up. Qi Feng gritted her teeth, but she couldn't blame her grandparents for their decision, as she was mostly responsible for what happened on that day. I understand. Qi Feng sighed. Good, then we'll leave Yuan in your hands. They left her alone with Yuan afterward. Once her family left, Qi Feng went to one of the drawers and pulled out a tall bottle of alcohol, and sat down at the table. How could they treat their most talented demon sealer like a babysitter? Damn it. Qi Feng began chugging down the alcohol, and complained after every swallow. Why am I being punished when they don't even know what happened? It's almost like they wanted someone to blame for his current situation. I can't believe this. Damn it all. While Qi Feng was chugging down her alcohol, Yuan was somewhere deep within his consciousness. Although I have managed to control and convert most of the chaotic energy inside your body, there is still some left, and while it won't kill you, you should still remove them as soon as possible, as it could not only affect your cultivation but also your mind. The divine paragon appeared inside Yuan's head to warn him. How do I do that? Fortunately for you, who has the heaven refining physique, you can just cultivate normally and push out the remaining chaotic energy with fresh spiritual energy. If it was anybody else, they would need a new technique and a lot of treasures. The divine paragon smiled. How long do I have before it starts affecting me? Yuan then asked. This is your first time experiencing such a thing, so the backlash will be quick and fierce. You can expect a reaction as soon as you wake up. It's that bad. Yuan swallowed nervously. What will happen to me? Who knows? You'll probably lose your mind every once in a while, become quick to lose your tempers, and other nasty nature that demons have, almost like you'd turned into a demon yourself. Yuan was terrified when he heard such words. I am going to turn into a demon. Does this mean I will crave human meat or kill humans? I hope to God that doesn't happen. Although that's possible, it won't happen with the amount of chaotic energy inside your body. However, it would be a good idea to limit your contact with others for the time being. Okay, I will have to delay the lecturers until I fix this situation. Yuan sighed. While Yuan slept peacefully, Qi Feng approached him with a drunk look on her face, still with a bottle of alcohol in her hands. You stupid little brat, hic. This is all your fault. Hic. Visit Riedel. Me for extra chapters. Once she was standing right beside the bed, Qi Feng would stare at Yuan's sleeping face in silence. Now that I look at you closely, hic, You're quite handsome. What you did today was also very handsome and admirable. Heck. When I watched you fight the demon, my heart was beating like crazy, almost like I was having a heart attack. I have never felt anything like that before. After a moment of silence, Qifeng suddenly lowered her face towards Yuan's sleeping face, kissing him on the lips. She removed her lips a moment later and muttered in a low voice. How can you sleep so soundly with a beauty like me in the same room? Hick. Hey. Wake up and fight me. I'm going to avenge myself. Hick. Qifeng began to slap Yuan's face lightly for a response. When Yuan didn't respond, Qifeng turned around and began walking away. How boring. Hick. After walking 2 steps, Qifeng suddenly stopped walking when she felt someone grab her hand. She turned around to see Yuan sitting up on his bed, and his eyes were open, but he didn't seem conscious. However, Qifeng was too drunk to notice that and continued to probe him. Hee, so you want to fight? Yuan suddenly yanked Qifeng onto the bed. Hey, what are you doing? That hurts. Qifeng complained as she laid on the bed with Yuan. She also felt a little wet for some reason, so she looked down, and to her surprise, the bottle of alcohol in her hands had spilled all over her body. Look at what you've done. Hick. Now I have to clean myself. Qifeng began loosening the wet areas on her clothes, and when Yuan saw that, almost as though something had ignited inside him, he suddenly pounced on top of her and ripped her loosened clothes right off her body. Qifeng stared at Yuan's face with a dazed expression. You have very beautiful eyes. She muttered in a low voice, not sounding a bit concerned about being naked nor the situation they were in, even placing her hands on his cheeks and caressing them. When she noticed Yuan staring at her bare chest, Qifeng smiled and said, Go ahead, you can touch them. It's your reward for dealing with the demon. Despite his weird state, it was almost as though Yuan had been waiting for Qifeng's approval, so when he got her approval, he immediately buried his face into her chest like a child embracing their mother. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 776. Published at 28th of February, 2022, 7:18 and 7 seconds p.m. Chapter 776. 776. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 776. A grave mistake. Yes. That's right. You can touch them all you want. Hick. It's your reward for killing the demon. Hick. Qifeng spoke in a dazed voice as Yuan's face buried deeper and deeper into her bosoms. This went on for a few moments until all of Yuan's movements suddenly halted. Hey, what's wrong? Hick. Yuan suddenly stood up and looked at Qifeng with a tranquil expression on his face. You should probably leave before we both make a grave mistake, he said in a calm voice. Qifeng's eyes widened with shock. This shock snapped her out of her drunken state for a brief moment, but this brief moment of clarity was all that was needed for Qifeng to realize what was happening and made a decision. She quickly got out of the bed and put on her clothes before running out of his room with a flushed face. Once she was gone, Yuan sat on the bed and smiled. What a troublesome child. I hope this will teach you to not put everything in your mouth, and that all actions will have consequences. He closed his eyes and began to cultivate. Meanwhile, inside his consciousness, Yuan sighed in relief. Thank you. He bowed to the divine paragon, who had just taken over his body. Why are you thanking me? For taking over my body and stopping me, who cannot control myself right now. The divine paragon started laughing. He then said, I told you, I cannot take over your body. I am merely a fragment of your memories. You acted on your own just now, just like when you fought and killed the demon. Perhaps your instincts kicked in or something. How is that even possible when I am not conscious? Yuan frowned. Reincarnation is a wonderful thing, but it is also something that we do not fully comprehend, and you're no ordinary human. After a moment of silence, Yuan spoke. Since you're here, can you tell me about the demonic realm? You kind of left me hanging last time. I don't have the answers to your questions. If you want them, go to the demonic realm. That's clearly bullshit. Why else would you say that something bad will happen if I don't return? Like ID already said, it's probably your instincts that's telling you. Anyways, it's about time I go. I won't be able to save you a second time, so if you end up in that state again, you're going to have to take full responsibility. I know. Yuan sighed. Do you really? A mysterious smile appeared on the divine paragon's face as he disappeared. The following morning, Qi Feng woke up in her bed to a head-splitting headache. Shit. I drank too much yesterday. She sat up with a painful expression on her face. Once her head cleared a little bit, memories of what happened last night began flowing inside her head. Shit, fuck. Did I really do such a thing? No way. Qi Feng quickly got dressed and rushed to Yuan's place. Hey, wake up. Yuan, we need to talk. Qi Feng banged on the door as she shouted in an urgent manner. Senior Qi, I am sorry, but can you leave me alone for a while? We can talk later. Once I fix myself. Last night. Nothing happened last night, do you hear me? I was not in the right state of mind. It was a mistake. What mistake? Qi Man's voice suddenly resounded behind Qi Feng, giving her the scare of her life. Qi grandfather. Nothing. Qi Feng turned around with a nervous look on her face, but when she saw Chu Liuxiang behind him, she became even more nervous. Liuxiang. What are you doing here? She stuttered nervously. I am here to see Yuan, of course, she said in a calm voice. Speaking of Yuan, why are you standing out here? I thought we told you to watch over him. How can you do that when you're out here, and he's in there? Qi Huan said to her. I left for just a minute, okay? I made sure to watch him properly. I swear. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Whatever. The grandparents were suspicious of her weird behavior, but they didn't think too much of it. Meishio went to the door and knocked on it. Yuan? Are you awake? Meishio. Is that you, Meishio? What are you doing here? Yuan's panicked voice resounded inside the building. I am also here as well, Chu Liuxiang said loudly. Lulu as well? Can you open the door and let us in? We want to see if you're okay. Meishio continued. After a moment of silence, Yuan sighed. Sorry, but I am a little sick right now. Can you all leave me alone for a few days? You're sick? How so? Meishio turned to look at Qi Man and the others and said to them. Can you leave us alone for a moment? All right. If you need anything, let us know. Thank you. Meishio nodded. Once they left, Meishio continued. Yuan, it's just me and Chu Liuxiang now. You can tell us what happened. Yuan sighed again before speaking. I consumed a demon core, but this demon core was a little special, so I am now experiencing a little backlash. My mind is not in the right state right now, and I am afraid of hurting you and the others, so until I take care of this condition, I should not get close to anyone. I see. So that's what happened. Are you in pain right now? Meishio then asked. No, I am fine. I should be healthy again in a few days. I understand. If you need anything, we will be right out here. Thank you, Meishio, and Lulu, for coming all the way out here. Anything for you, Yuan. Chu Liuxiang smiled. Anyways, what should we tell the others? I don't think we should let them know that he consumed a demon core. Yes, you're right. Let's think of something. Meishio agreed with Chu Liuxiang, and the two of them began thinking of an excuse for Yuan's condition. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 777. Published at 28th of February, 2022, 9:57 and 13 seconds p.m. Chapter 777. 777. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 777. Destructive urges. Why don't we just tell them that it's a medical condition he has? Chu Liuxiang asked. No, that won't work. I already told the manager that there was no such thing. Oh, I know. We can tell them that it was caused by one of the techniques he's currently cultivating. Meishio stared at her in silence for a few moments before nodding. That will work. Okay, let's tell them that then. Sometime later, the Chi family returned. How is he doing? Chi Man asked. He's doing fine. It's just the backlash of one of his techniques that he's currently trying to master, that's all. His episode should be cleared in a few days. It was caused by a technique? I have never heard of a technique that has made people sick before. Chi Huan said in a worried tone. But as long as he's fine, I am relieved. If you need anything, just let us know. We've also prepared a room for you too, Chi Man said to them. It's all right, we will stay here with him, Chu Liuxiang said. Out here? In the cold? You know we cannot have our guests live in such conditions. They raised their eyebrows. Why don't the two of you take turns watching over him? The two of them exchanged looks with each other before nodding their heads. I can watch over him first, Chu Liuxiang said. We switch out every 8 hours? Meishio asked. Okay. Meishio then turned to look at Chi Man and asked him. While she stays here, I would like to join your Chi family's training sessions. You guys are taught to fight demons, right? I would like to learn. A bittersweet smile appeared on Chi Man's face as he spoke. If you want to learn, you already have the very best. I don't think we will be very helpful to you. In fact, I am now doubting if our training is even useful at all. Even then, I would still like to learn. At least until he recovers, Meishio said. All right. Training should be starting soon. Follow me. Meishio left the Chi Man and the others while Chu Liuxiang stayed behind. I will be right outside if you need me, Yuan. She sat down in front of the door and began cultivating. Meanwhile, Meishio followed Chi Man to this area with a large building and a massive field in the front. There's a lot of people here. She mumbled when she saw hundreds of people gathered outside the training field. My Chi family has almost 2,000 people. Of course, they are not all family by blood. We take disciples from around the world and teach them how to seal demons. As for our fighting experience, we really have none. Have you ever fought a demon before? Chi Man turned to ask Meishio. No, I have not. She shook her head. I have seen dozens of demons throughout my life, but they were all already sealed, so I have never seen their prowess, at least until yesterday. When I first saw the demon unsealed for the first time, my entire body froze from shock, and my instinct was to run away as quickly as possible. Even though I didn't personally face the demon, even though Yuan completely dominated the demon and made it look weak, I can tell that I am no match for the demon. And if someone like me is scared of demons, I cannot imagine how these young demon sealers will react before an unsealed demon, at least not with their current training. That's why I asked Yuan to be our lecturer. I'm certain that we can all learn something from him. Sometime later, Chi Man brought Meishio to the field. When the instructors and the disciples saw Chi Man, they all stopped whatever they were doing and bowed to him. Greetings, ancestor. Listen up. Chi Man spoke out loud. Due to some complications, our new instructor will not be here for a few more days. Therefore, you will train normally for now. My friend here will be joining your training today. Treat her well. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Everybody there turned to look at Meishio. Many nervous gulps resounded from people that were taken aback by her beauty, and there were so many that it sounded really weird. Meanwhile, inside his room, Yuan was trying to suppress his urges to destroy everything in the room. If he so much as looks at anything, his destructive urges would flare up, so he locked his divine sense. Is this what causes demons' destructive nature? I only have some chaotic energy left in my body, yet the urges are still this strong. I cannot imagine what it must be like to be a demon that has to endure this for their entire life. If he had to endure this urge for the rest of his life, there was no doubt that he would eventually stop suppressing his urges and go wild. When he realized this, Yuan stopped blaming demons as much, and he even pitied their tragic life. However, there was another feeling in Yuan that was very worrisome for him, and that was the feeling from last night that hasn't been satisfied. Damn it. I am already trying my best to deal with my destructive urges. If I also have to control my sexual urges, I won't be able to cultivate at all. He cried inwardly. After pondering for a moment, Yuan cleared his throat and spoke out loud. Alulu, is Meishio out there? No, she went to train with the Chi family. Do you need help? Kind of. When will she come back? Well, it's been 2 hours since she left, so she won't return for another 6 hours. 6 hours. Yuan's sighing voice could be heard from inside the building. If you need help, I can help you. It's a little complicated. It's okay, I can just wait. After a moment of silence, Chu Luxiang's voice resounded. Yuan, no matter how complicated it is, I want to help you. You have helped me so many times now, yet I have not been able to return the favor. Please let me help you. The place turned dead silent after that. Chu Liuxiang sighed in a dispirited manner, but just as she was able to give up, she heard the door behind her being unlocked. Come inside, Yuan said to her. Coming. Chu Liuxiang eagerly entered the building. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 778. Published at 28th of February, 2022, 11:09 and 5 seconds p.m. Chapter 778. 778. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 778. Starved beast, Yuan? What are you doing standing so far away? Chu Liuxiang asked him after entering the building and noticing that he was standing all the way on the other side of the room. I wanted to make sure that I don't accidentally hurt you. Yuan sighed. Ever since I consumed the demon core, I have been getting these unhealthy thoughts and the urge to destroy everything around me, and I am having a hard time controlling these emotions. I am worried that I might hurt you if you get too close. Hearing Yuan's words, Chu Liuxiang smiled. She closed the door behind her and started approaching him in a calm manner. As long as I can help you, I don't care even if you hurt me. Once she was close enough, she opened her arms and embraced Yuan. See, everything is fine. Now, tell me what you need help with. However, before Yuan could even respond, Chu Liuxiang felt something hard poking her legs. She looked down, and to her absolute shock, there was a massive bulge in his pants. Chu Luxiang's mind blanked out for a moment while she processed the situation. In order for me to release the chaotic energy in my body, I must cultivate, but I cannot cultivate properly when I have to control so many emotions and urges. Yuan sighed. Chu Liuxiang snapped out of her daze and looked at his handsome face. When you say you need help, do you mean down there? She asked him in a nervous voice. I tried doing it myself before, but that didn't work. If you don't want to help, I fully understand and won't blame you for not wanting to do something so weird. After a moment of silence, Chu Liuxiang asked in a low voice, Does Meishio usually help you? You did ask for her just now? That's. Yuan promised Meishio that he would not tell anybody, but even an idiot could tell the truth after seeing his reaction. A bittersweet smile appeared on Chu Luxiang's face, and she said, Believe it or not, I am not that surprised. It's a common thing amongst wealthy households such as the Yu family. Meishio, she was probably trained to do such things. She took a deep breath and continued. Since Meishio is not here, I will help you out. Take off your pants and sit on the bed. Yuan nodded, and while he took off his pants, Chu Liuxiang went to lock the doors. When she turned around and saw Yuan sitting on the bed with his lower half completely naked, her entire body froze. Even though this wasn't her first time seeing his lower half, and they have even taken baths together, the atmosphere was completely different, and Yuan's body didn't have this sort of reaction. Why are you getting nervous now, you idiot? You have been wanting to do this kind of stuff to him for a long time. Chu Liuxiang cried inwardly to calm herself. Sure enough, it worked perfectly, allowing her to move her body again. She walked in front of Yuan and kneeled before him. Once she prepared herself, she extended her fair hands and grabbed the stiff rod between Yuan's legs and began stroking it. Ah, it hurts! Yuan suddenly exclaimed, sucking in a breath of cold air. Sorry. Chu Liuxiang was surprised by his painful sound and immediately removed her hands. Am I doing something wrong? But I am doing exactly what the magazines instruct. She wondered inwardly. She looked at him and asked, How does Meishio usually do this? I don't know how to explain it. The room turned dead silent as Chu Liuxiang began pondering. Okay, I know what to do. She started moving closer to Yuan. And once she was close enough, she opened her mouth and sucked on his thing. Yuan suddenly felt an incredible feeling around his thing. But since he didn't dare to use his divine sense, he could only imagine what Chu Liuxiang was doing to him. How is this? Does this hurt? Chu Liuxiang asked him a moment later. No. It feels good. Chu Liuxiang didn't say anything longer, and continued to relieve him of his stress. A few minutes later, Yuan said, I cannot hold it any longer. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Chu Liuxiang suddenly felt something warm gush inside her mouth. She subconsciously removed her mouth, and Yuan's white stuff shot all over her clothes and face. Wow. Chu Liuxiang mumbled, in an amazed voice afterward. Let me go wash myself first. Is there a bathroom in here? Chu Liuxiang stood up and looked around for a bathroom. However, Yuan didn't respond. Yuan? She turned to look at him, who was sitting on the bed with a dazed face. Yuan, are you okay? She approached him. Yuan suddenly grabbed her, tossed her onto the bed, and pinned her down. Although his actions surprised her, she wasn't too worried since she knew that he wouldn't harm her. Yuan? What's happening? She asked him. Yuan opened his mouth slightly and uttered in a low voice while gnashing his teeth, almost as though he was trying to resist something. I cannot resist anymore. Chu Liuxiang stared at Yuan's painful face with a blank expression. Yuan suddenly shouted, Leave! Leave this place immediately before I hurt you. However, Chu Liuxiang didn't move, and she even caressed his cheeks with her hand. Yuan, how can I leave you alone when you're suffering? When I absorbed the flood dragon's scale, you stayed with me, even suffering with me. Therefore I am going to do the same. Let me help you. Let me suffer with you. Yuan's body trembled when he heard her words. It's okay. I will be fine. I promise. Let it out. Let it all out. I'm sorry. Yuan muttered in a low voice right before he stripped Chu Liuxiang naked. And for the next few minutes, like a starved beast that hasn't eaten in days, he tasted every inch of Chu Liuxiang's luscious body, leaving his saliva all over her body. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 779. Published at 2nd of March, 2022, 11:39 and 7 seconds p.m. Chapter 779. 779. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 779. Bruises and Chu Liuxiang moaned softly as Yuan licked and kissed her body from the top to bottom. When Yuan reached the area between her legs, he grabbed her legs and opened it wide before pushing his face towards her bottom lips. Chu Liuxiang's eyes widened with shock and her body twitched. She wanted to moan louder, but she didn't dare to do so, fearing that someone might overhear them. She suddenly felt something small invading her cave and wriggling around like a worm. So fierce. She cried inwardly. Once Yuan was satisfied, he removed his wet mouth from Chu Liuxiang's body and aimed his sword at the slit between her legs. Wait a second, Yuan. Give me a moment to pray. However, before Chu Liuxiang could even finish her sentence, Yuan suddenly moved, shoving his rod into her body completely. Chu Liuxiang nearly screamed from the pain, and it felt like her lower body had been ripped apart and torn in half. The pain was so excruciating that it immediately made her eyes tear up and almost knocked her unconscious. However, before she could even recover from her pain or adapt to it, Yuan started moving again, pounding his hips violently at her like a dog during mating season. It hurts. It really hurts. Tears flowed from Chu Liuxiang's eyes like a river. Yet she remained still and allowed Yuan to ravage her body as he wished. The pain was on par with the pain she felt when she absorbed the flood dragon's scale. But unlike then, this pain felt more realistic and a completely different kind of pain, not to mention how tightly Yuan was holding onto her arms and legs. A large amount of blood flowed from Chu Liuxiang's body and tainted the clean bed sheets, But Yuan ignored all of that, and continued to thrust his hips like a machine with only one purpose. Chu Liuxiang could have never expected that her first time with Yuan would be so brutal and so rough. She thought it was going to be a great time, one that could be enjoyed by the two of them, but it was more of a torture than anything. Many minutes into their action, Yuan suddenly extended his arm and wrapped his hands around Chu Luxiang's neck and tightened it, choking her neck. Despite this, Chu Liuxiang accepted everything Yuan threw at her. She endured the pain, she resisted the thought of running away, and she tried her best to not blame Yuan for his actions. Yuan. Chu Liuxiang muttered in a low voice as Yuan continued to seal away her air. Yuan's body jolted the moment he heard Chu Liuxiang calling his name, and he slowly released his grasp on her neck, which left behind a slight bruise. Alulu, what have I done? Yuan, who had just regained control over his body, mumbled in disbelief. He looked at her condition with his divine sense, and he could see bruise marks all over her body that had been caused by his rough handling, and the bed sheets were soaked in her blood. However, despite the abuse she just experienced, Chu Liuxiang had a gentle smile on her face. Don't blame yourself, Yuan. You're not in the right state of mind, and I agreed to this. That doesn't make the situation any better, nor does it excuse my actions. I hurt you, even though I promised to protect you. We need to stop here and get you a doctor. When Yuan tried to stand up, Chu Liuxiang suddenly grabbed his arm and pulled him back down. No. We cannot stop here. We need to finish this properly. I have always wanted to do this with you too. But your condition. Don't underestimate me, Yuan. I got worse injuries when I trained with my master, and it was much more painful when I absorbed the flood dragon's scale. I can handle this, she said with a resolute face. And she continued. Furthermore, you're back to normal now. Things will only get better from here. What if I lose my mind again? Then I will wake you up again. Chu Liuxiang grabbed his cheeks and pulled his face towards her own, kissing him on the lips. I love you, Yuan, she said to him afterward. Let's finish this so that you can get better. Yuan nodded, and he inserted his rod into her body again. Now that Yuan regained his senses, he no longer moved like a beast, allowing the both of them to enjoy the moment. Visit Readle.me for extra chapters. Eventually, Yuan reached his limits, and when that happened, he remembered Meixia's words and pulled out of Chu Liuxiang before releasing his fluids all over her body. Yuan proceeded to lay on the bed beside Chu Liuxiang, and the both of them rested for many minutes before they went to wash each other. Yuan, that was amazing. I never expected that embracing your loved ones could be so much fun and enjoyable. Even if you were a little rough at the beginning. Chu Liuxiang suddenly said. Sorry. Why are you apologizing? Some people like it rough, you know? It's like a hobby for them, and after experiencing it for myself, I can understand where they are coming from. Yuan didn't know how to respond to such information, so he remained quiet. I am going to cultivate now and get rid of the chaotic energy within my body. Yuan said to Chu Liuxiang afterward. Good luck. If you ever need to relieve yourself again, I will always be there for you. Thank you. Yuan nodded. Chu Liuxiang left Yuan alone, and proceeded to stare at the cloud in the sky with a dazed face until Meixiu returned. Is everything okay? Meixiu asked Chu Liuxiang when she noticed the odd atmosphere around her, like something about her had changed. Never been better. Chu Liuxiang nodded with a smile. It's my turn to watch Yuan now. Okay. Just as Chu Liuxiang began walking away, Meixiu suddenly spoke. Wait. What's the matter? Chu Liuxiang stopped and looked at her. Meixiu raised her arm and pointed at her neck. You're bruised. Something did happen, right? Are you okay? Chu Liuxiang subconsciously covered her neck. She had completely forgotten about it. Don't worry, it's really nothing serious. Yuan. Is he okay? Yes, I promise. Chu Liuxiang smiled at Meixiu before leaving the scene. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 780. Published at 3rd of March, 2022, 2:09 and 6 seconds AM. Chapter 780. 780. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 780. Full recovery. After Chu Liuxiang left, Meixiu turned to look at Yuan's building with a worried look on her face. Yuan, are you there? Yes. Are you okay? After a moment of silence, Yuan responded. I lost control for a bit, but Lulu helped me, so I am fine now. Lost control? That explains the bruises on her neck. They probably fought. Meixiu sighed inwardly, misunderstanding the situation entirely. Yuan, if you feel like losing control again, let me know and I will immediately get help. Meixiu said to him. As much as she wanted to help him, she knew that she was no match for Yuan if they fought, so she could only rely on others for now. I am still too weak compared to them. Meixiu bit her lips in frustration before sitting down and cultivating. 8 hours passed in a flash while Meixiu focused on cultivation, and before she was aware, Chu Liuxiang was already back for her shift. I can continue. You should rest a little more, Meixiu said to her. Thank you for worrying about me, but I am really fine. Look, the bruises are already gone. Chu Liuxiang showed Meixiu her neck, and sure enough, all of her bruises were gone. Meixiu silently stared at her for a moment before speaking. If anything happens, you need to get help. I will. Chu Liuxiang nodded with a smile on her face. Once Meixiu left, Chu Liuxiang sat before the building and said, I am back, Yuan. If you need me, I will be out here. There was no response from Yuan, but Chu Liuxiang didn't panic. He's probably focused on his recovery, she thought to herself. An hour into her shift, Chu Liuxiang noticed a figure in the distance, and they appeared to be watching her from the shadows. It was already dark outside, so Chu Liuxiang couldn't see this figure's face. Who's there? She called out to the figure. A few seconds later, this figure stepped out of the shadows and into the light. It was Qifeng. Master? Do you need something? How is he doing? Yuan? He's recovering. Is that so? Qifeng didn't say anything else and turned around and began walking away. Master, wait a moment. Chu Liuxiang stopped her. What? Are you still angry at Yuan for what happened last time? If you are, please accept my apologies for him. Qifeng spoke after a moment of silence. I am more angry at myself than I am with him. Chu Luxiang's eyes widened. I thought I was strong. Strong enough to defeat him. Strong enough to defeat a demon. Turns out that I've been wrong this entire time. You don't have to worry. What happened at the Chu family is already behind me. I may be stupid and arrogant, but I am not foolish. And without explaining any further, Qifeng disappeared back into the shadows, leaving Chu Liuxiang speechless. 2 days later, Yuan opened his eyes and stood up to stretch. The urges are completely gone now, which means I have fully recovered. What a horrible experience. I swear I will never carelessly swallow demon cores ever again. He opened the door and walked outside to see Chu Liuxiang sitting in front of him. And when Chu Liuxiang heard the door open behind her, she stopped cultivating and turned around. Yuan, have you finally recovered? She quickly stood up and asked him. Yes, and it's all thanks to you. Yuan suddenly opened his arms and embraced Chu Liuxiang tightly. Lulu, I am truly sorry about what happened last time. I asked you for your help, but that caused you a lot of pain. Even if I wasn't in the right state of mind, I am still responsible for my actions. I hope that you'll forgive me. I will forgive you, if you do it properly next time. Chu Liuxiang hugged him back and said. Let's wait until we go back home. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. I think I prefer that as well. Chu Liuxiang chuckled. Let's go tell the others that you're fine, she then said. Okay. Yuan and Chu Liuxiang went to meet up with Meixiu. Meixiu, are you awake? Yuan. Meixiu stopped cultivating when she heard Yuan's voice outside her room. Are you okay? She asked him after opening the door. Yes, I have fully recovered. Thank you for watching over me. Where is the Qi family? I'd like to speak with them. Senior Qi should be at the training area with the disciples. We can ask her. Meixiu said. Where is this place? Follow me. I have been there before. They made their way to the training area next, and sure enough, Qi Feng was training the disciple with an iron fist. Your demon sealing aura is too weak. Are you trying to seal the demon or unseal it? Senior Qi, I think they are looking for you. One of the disciples noticed Yuan's group and notified her. When Qi Feng saw Yuan's face, she immediately recalled the incident they had not long ago and started blushing. Sometime later she approached them and asked, "Need something?" Yuan smiled and said, "I have fully recovered, and I am prepared to train the Qi family." Qi Feng narrowed her eyes at him. "Are you sure?" "I am." He nodded. "Wait right here. I am going to notify my grandparents." Qi Feng then walked away for a few minutes before returning. "They will be here shortly. While we wait, I need to speak with you. In private." Qi Feng looked at Yuan. Qi Feng then dragged Yuan to a secluded area where they were alone. Once Qi Feng was certain that nobody was around, she pointed at Yuan and spoke in a low but aggressive voice. "What happened that night never happened, okay? I was drunk and you were sick. Forget about it. If you dare tell anyone about it, I will kill you even if it's the last thing I do, and then I will kill myself. Do you hear me?" Yuan smiled and said, "What happened that night? I don't remember very clearly since I was sick." "That's a good response. Now keep it that way forever." Qi Feng coldly snorted before walking away like nothing ever happened. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 781. Published at 5th of March, 2022, 7:39 and 19 seconds p.m. Chapter 781. 781. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 781. Lecturing the Qi family. By the time Yuan returns to the others after his brief conversation with Qi Feng, Qi Man and the others have already arrived. "Yuan, are you sure you want to start the training already? You can rest a few more days if you want," Qi Man said to him. "I am certain." Yuan nodded with a confident smile. "Okay, follow me. I will introduce you to the family," Qi Man said. Qi Man brought Yuan before the disciples. He cleared his throat and spoke, "Listen up. This person right here is Senior Yuan, and he will be your instructor for the next few days." The disciples immediately began mumbling to each other. "He's our instructor? He looks even younger than me. I don't believe it. This must be a prank." "Shut up," Qi Man suddenly shouted, instantly silencing the murmurs. "He may be younger than most of you, but I can guarantee his skills and knowledge. As you already know, the demon on this island had escaped from its seal a few days ago. It was Senior Yuan who subjugated and killed the demon, saving us from a slaughter. If you dare disrespect him, you will answer to me. In fact, all of the elders in the family will also participate in the lectures, as I firmly believe that we all have a lot to learn from him." The disciples were shocked to learn that Yuan was the one who killed the demon, and they all wondered where he came from. However, a few disciples there recognized his name. "Wait, Yuan. He can't be player Yuan, right? The mysterious player who seems to always be 1,000 light years ahead of everyone? Fuck. Now that you mention it, it would make perfect sense if it's player Yuan. He always seems to achieve the impossible. So that's what player Yuan looks like behind his mask, huh? Why does he have his eyes closed? Who knows?" Yuan suddenly stepped forward and said, "Hello everyone. I'm Yuan, and I will be teaching you all I know about demons. Before I teach you about how to fight demons, you should all know about demons' strengths and weaknesses." He looked around before turning to look at Qi Man and asking him, "Is there a more suitable place for lectures?" "Of course. We have a lecture hall not far from here. We can go there." "Great." Yuan and everyone there proceeded to follow Qi Man to the lecturer hall. Once everyone was seated, Yuan began speaking. "Before I talk about demons' weakness, I want to talk about what makes them so strong and unkillable. First of all, demons have an incredible level of pain endurance. You can tear their limbs and smash their heads into meat paste, but they will not feel a thing. Second, they all have powerful innate strength. If you try to fight them head-on, You will most likely lose. Demons are naturally stronger than humans, meaning if there is a demon and a cultivator with the same cultivation, the demon will always beat the human. Last but not least, demons have super regeneration, which allows them to recover from any damage as long as there is a tiny piece of their body left. You can decapitate them or grind them into a million pieces. They will still recover as though nothing had happened. This is demons' strongest ability, and what makes them relentless and unkillable. The disciples immediately began mumbling to each other. Fuck. I thought their regenerating abilities were exaggerated. To think it was true. The disciples despaired upon learning this information. They learned about demons' regenerative abilities through ancient texts from their ancestors, but since they have never fought a demon before, they could never confirm the information. If we cannot kill them, then how did you kill the demon? Someone there stood up and asked Yuan. Yuan turned to look at the young man who just spoke and said, "They may be unkillable, but that is only for your average cultivator. We demon sealers have what it takes to kill demons as long as you know the right techniques." Visit Readle.me for extra chapters. Now let me tell you about their weaknesses and how you can kill demons. There are 2 ways that I know of. 1. You must destroy the demon faster than it can regenerate, meaning you can kill a demon as long as you can erase a demon completely before they can regenerate, but that will require a massive amount of spiritual energy and a technique that is powerful enough to do such a thing. As for the second method, you must destroy their core. All demons have a core in their body. It's the red crystal that can usually be found on their chest. If you can destroy their core, the demon will lose their regenerative ability and die, which is what I did to the demon. However, in order to do that, you must have the right technique in demon sealing aura strong enough to prevent the crystal from returning to the demon. I will now answer any questions that you may have. Dozens of hands immediately raised into the air. How many demons have you fought, killed? A young lady asked him with her eyes flickering with admiration. A couple. Are you really player Yuan? The #1 player in Cultivation Online. Yes, I am. Do you have a girlfriend? Let's try to stay on topic. Yuan said with a bittersweet smile on his face. Qifeng suddenly stood up and asked, the 2 methods to kill a demon, they all require a specific technique, but we don't have such techniques. Are you telling us that we will never be able to kill demons? Yuan smiled upon hearing her question, and he responded in a clear voice. That's not true. You may not have such techniques, but I do. If you want, I can teach you these techniques. What? Are you serious? Qifeng's eyes widened with shock. Qi Man and the other elders were also pleasantly surprised to hear Yuan's words. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 782. Published at 5th of March, 2022, 7:39 and 18 seconds p.m. Chapter 782. 782. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 782. Lecturing the Qi family 2. Why you're willing to share with us your demon sealing techniques? What do you want in return? I doubt you'll be willing to give them for free. Qifeng narrowed her eyes at Yuan. The situation sounded too good to be true. I don't need or want anything from you. I believe that the more capable demon sealers there are in this world, the safer it is from demons. It makes no sense for me to keep demon sealing techniques to myself when the world is in danger, as that would be akin to asking you to dig a hole with your bare hands while I keep all of the tools necessary to dig the hole to myself. However, these techniques require a certain amount of demon sealing aura to use. If your demon sealing aura is too weak, you will not be able to learn it. Qi Man suddenly stood up and spoke in a loud and excited voice. As you all have just heard, Senior Yuan has agreed to teach us his valuable demon sealing techniques. However, if you want to learn them, you must qualify first. If you wish to learn from him, you must speak to an elder first so that you don't waste Senior Yuan's time. Thank you, Senior Yuan. The disciples all expressed their gratitude to him. Yuan nodded, and he continued to lecture the Chi family about demons for an hour before they all returned to the training area. Now that you all know about demons, you should learn to fight them. Starting today, I will be acting as a demon, and your goal is to seal me. Seal you? How do we do that? One of the disciples asked. Just treat me like a demon, and try your best to seal me. Are you sure? That sounds a little dangerous. Yuan smiled and said, Yes, it's going to be a little risky, but not for me. He pointed at them and said, If anyone here can defeat me, I will teach you a demon sealing technique of your choosing. I happen to know a couple of divine rank demon sealing techniques after all. When the disciples heard Yuan's words, they immediately felt a rush of excitement and passion in their body. Who wants to try first? Yuan asked them a moment later, and before anybody could even move, a figure landed before him. I will go first, Qi Fang said with a serious look on her face. She had multiple reasons to fight Yuan, but she never had the right excuse until now. Sure. Yuan nodded with a smile. Qi Fang retrieved a sword. Where's your sword? Take it out. It won't be fair if I use it. Yuan said. How arrogant. Qi Fang didn't say anything else and kicked her feet. However, a burst of intense killing intent suddenly exploded from Yuan, halting Qi Fang instantly. Demons will have much more killing intent than I am releasing now. You must overcome your fear, or you will never defeat the demon, Yuan said to her in a loud voice so that everyone else could hear him. Qi Fang's body trembled in fear, but she gritted her teeth and forced her own body to move. Ha! She swung her sword at Yuan with all of her might, but Yuan dodged it effortlessly. I can tell that you're still scared. Get rid of your fear if you want to win. Shut up. That's easier said than done. Qi Fang continued to swing her sword at Yuan, but with her body still trembling, she could barely control her movements. If I was a real demon, you'd been dead a dozen times by now. Yuan suddenly appeared behind Qi Fang, kicking her on the side and sending her flying. He turned to look at the dazed spectators and shouted, If you do not overcome your fear, you will never defeat the demon. There is nothing to fear as long as you have your demon sealing technique. Demons should fear you, not the other way. Who wants to try next? After a moment of silence, over a dozen disciples raised their hands. Seeing this, Yuan pointed at 5 different people and said, You can all come at me together. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. The 5 disciples exchanged looks with each other before nodding their heads. Once they were prepared, they surrounded Yuan and attacked him at once. However, Yuan released his killing intent again. The disciples suddenly felt as though the Grim Reaper had appeared to take their lives, and their legs began shivering non-stop. While the disciples were dazed, Yuan used this chance to attack them, quickly defeating all 5 disciples. Give me 10 disciples next. Yuan turned to look at the spectators. And for the rest of the day, Yuan would fight every disciple in the Qi family without a single loss, even increasing the number of people he fought at once after every victory. Fuck. He's too powerful. So this is what it feels like to fight player Yuan, huh? As expected, he's on a whole other level. Sometime later, Yuan gathered everybody and said to them, Although nobody has managed to resist my killing intent today, I have confidence in you all. Therefore, we will spend all day tomorrow increasing your endurance to my killing intent. Once the disciples were dismissed, Qi Man and the other elders approached Yuan. Yuan, do you think we have enough demon sealing aura to learn the techniques? Qi Huan asked him. I don't know. Do you guys have anything that measures one's demon sealing aura? He asked them. Qi Man then said, We do. It's also what we use to determine if someone has the capabilities to become a demon sealer. Follow us. They brought Yuan to an open area where a stone tablet surrounded by 7 stone totems existed. If we pour our demon sealing aura in the stone tablet, it will tell us the strength of our aura, but we're not exactly sure how it scales. Qi Man said to him. We'll find out in a bit, I guess. Yuan said. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 783. Published at 6th of March, 2022, 3:48 and 10 seconds p.m. Chapter 783. 783 If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 783. Testing their demon sealing aura. I will go first, Chi-Man said as he approached the stone tablet. He placed his hands onto the tablet and poured his demon sealing aura into it. One of the 7 stone totems began emitting a dim light, then 2 totems, then 3, stopping at 4 totems. 4 totems. I think it should be good enough. I will transfer the technique to you. See if you can comprehend it, Yuan said to him afterward. How will you? Chi-Man raised his eyebrows. Yuan approached Chi-Man and lifted his hand before poking Chi-Man's forehead with his finger that had a subtle light emitting from the tip. The next moment, Chi-Man could feel something being forced into his head, and the demon sealing technique appeared inside his mind like some sort of magic trick. Heavens! You can even do something like this? Chi-Man was shocked and speechless. I only learned this technique very recently, but it allows me to transfer any technique I know to others. It's very convenient. Chi-Man wasted no time and took a seat not far away before he started trying to comprehend the demon sealing technique. Who's next? I will go next. Chi-Huan stepped forward and placed her hands onto the stone tablet. A few moments later, 3 stone totems emitted light. Yuan transferred the demon sealing technique that will allow them to destroy a demon's core to Chi-Huan afterward. Up next was Chi-Fang's father, followed by her mother. Her father managed to light up 4 totems while her mother only managed to light up 3 totems, just like Chi-Man and Chi-Huan. The other elders went next, but most of them only managed to light up 2 totems with a few lighting 3. Once all of the elders were finished, Chi-Fang went to check her results, but she already knew the results before even putting her hands on the stone tablet, since it was mandatory to check their demon sealing aura once a year, and Shed checked her demon sealing aura 2 months ago. 1 totem, 2 totems, 3 totems. In the end, Chi-Fang managed to light up 5 totems, which is the highest out of the entire Chi family. As expected of our family's #1 genius. The other elders were not surprised by the results. After getting her demon sealing aura tested, Chi-Fang approached Yuan and waited for him to transfer the techniques to her. Senior Chi, what weapon do you mainly use? The sword? Yes. Chi-Fang nodded, silently wondering to herself why he was asking this question. Then I will give you a demon sealing technique for the sword as well as the technique that will allow you to destroy their cores. Really? Chi-Fang's eyes began flickering with excitement. Why would I lie to you? Yuan smiled as he transferred the demon sealing strike and the other technique that he gave everyone else to Chi-Fang. This is... what a profound technique. Chi-Fang mumbled in awe as she closed her eyes to look at the information flowing inside her head. What about you too? Do you want to test your demon sealing aura? Yuan asked Meishio and Chu Liuxiang. Sure. They nodded. Chu Liuxiang went first, followed by Meishio. However, to their surprise, they were only able to light up a single totem. Does this mean we're not suitable to become demon sealers? Chu Liuxiang asked him in a worried tone. No, your results are normal for people that have never trained their demon sealing aura before, Chi-Man said to them. As long as you continue strengthening your demon sealing aura, you will be able to light up more totems. In fact, most of us started out with only 1 totem as well. Chu Liuxiang and Meishio felt more reassured after hearing Chi-Man's explanation. How does one even train their demon sealing aura? Chu Liuxiang then asked. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. We're not entirely sure either, but we found that the more we comprehend demon sealing techniques, the stronger our demon sealing aura becomes. Chi-Man responded. Does this mean one should study as many demon sealing techniques as they can even if they cannot use some of them? Yes. Chi-Man nodded. Anyways, this technique is very profound. It will take us a few weeks if not months before we get any results. However, I think we can teach everyone that has at least level 2 demon sealing aura the technique, but it's all up to you, Yuan. Chi-Man looked at him. Level 2 demon sealing aura? So only those who can emit light from 2 totems should learn the technique? Yuan asked for confirmation. Yes. Chi-Man nodded. Sure, I don't mind. Thank you. This debt we owe you is so huge that I don't even know where to begin, much less how to repay you. Please give us some time to think of a proper response. Chi-Man lowered his head and said. Yuan pondered for a moment before speaking. I don't really need any payments, but I would appreciate it if you can let me look at the Chi family's demon sealing techniques. Of course. We don't have much, and they are worthless compared to your demon sealing techniques, but since you asked, you may look at them as you please. Just let me know when you want to look at them. I will look at them before I return home. Yuan said. Sometime later, Qi Feng stopped trying to learn the technique and said to Yuan, Hey, why don't you take the test as well? I want to see how strong your demon sealing aura is. When the others heard Qi Feng's suggestion, they also stopped cultivating and stared at Yuan. It was clear as day that Qi Feng isn't the only one curious. Sure. Yuan simply couldn't refuse after seeing their anticipating gazes. He approached the stone tablet and placed his hands on it. After taking a slow and deep breath, Yuan released his demon sealing aura. The second the stone tablet sensed his demon sealing aura, it immediately responded by trembling violently. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 784. Published at 7th of March, 2022, 12:09 and 8 seconds AM. Chapter 784. 784. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 784. Killing intent. When Yuan felt the stone tablet shake, he subconsciously removed his hand from it, fearing that he might destroy it. However, it was too late, as had already injected his demon sealing aura into the stone tablet. The stone tablet began trembling until cracks appeared on it. When Qi Feng and the others saw this, they were terrified out of their minds. If the stone tablet really breaks, they would have no way to fix it. Suddenly, all 7 totems shone brightly, basking the whole area with a golden light. Boom! One of the 7 totems, the very last one, exploded into countless pieces. When that happened, the other 6 totems lost their light, and the stone tablet stopped working. What the hell did you do? Qi Feng approached the totems in a dazed manner, and she inspected the conditions of the remaining 6 totems. Although they were not completely destroyed, they were on the verge of destruction, and they were all covered in cracks. Sorry. I think my demon sealing aura was too strong. Yuan quickly apologized. You think an apology will fix this? If this stone tablet stops working, we will no longer be able to evaluate the strength of our demon sealing aura. Qi Feng said with a frown. I only did as you told me. Yuan shrugged. Calm down. Chi-Man suddenly said. Even if the stone tablet is broken, not all hope is lost. The other 2 families also have one. Other 2 families? Yuan raised his eyebrows. There are 3 ancient families in this world that seal demons, and the Qi family is only one of them. The other 2 would be the Luan family and the Sang family. We don't normally speak with each other, but if we really need to, we can ask to use their stone tablet. Don't worry about this, Yuan. We will deal with the stone tablet. You can focus on your lectures. I understand. Once again, sorry about the whole situation. While Yuan returned to his living quarters, the Qi family examined the damages done to the stone tablet much deeper. I have never seen anything like this before. Just how powerful is his demon sealing aura to wreck the place like this? He's strong enough to kill a demon, so I'm not really that surprised. Sometime later, the people that inspected the stone tablet reported the results to the elders. Despite its rough state and appearance, the stone tablet is still working properly, except the 7th totem, which is no longer functional. Qi Huan released a long sigh after hearing the results. Looks like we won't have to beg the other 2 families for their help. Indeed. Chi-Man sighed. Meanwhile, okay, I am going to transfer to you the demon sealing techniques now. Yuan said to Meishio and Chuliuxiang. He started with Meishio. After touching her forehead with his finger, Yuan transferred 2 different techniques to her, both demon sealing techniques that required the bow. A heaven rank and divine rank technique. Meishio mumbled in a low voice. Thank you, Yuan. Yuan turned to look at Chu Liuxiang next. I have 3 demon sealing techniques for you, and they don't require the usage of any weapons, Yuan said to her before transferring the techniques to her. Thank you, she said to him afterward. Good luck learning the techniques. The following morning, Yuan went to the training area. Yuan, I also want to participate in the training today, Meishio suddenly said to him. Sure. I also want to join, Chu Liuxiang said. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. And she continued. Make sure that you don't go easy on us. I want. He smiled. Sometime later, they arrived at the training area. While they waited for everyone to arrive, Chi-Man approached Yuan and told him about the stone tablets. So they still work? Thank God. Yuan sighed in relief. Only 6 of the 7 totems work, but I doubt any of us will reach that level. Nothing is impossible. Yuan smiled. Once everyone from the Qi family gathered at the training area, Yuan had them surrounded him in a circle. The strongest cultivators there like Qi Feng and Chu Liuxiang sat closest to Yuan while the weaker cultivators sat further away. I will now release my killing intent. It will feel uncomfortable. Some of you might even feel pain, but do your best to endure it. This will not only help you fight against demons, it can also help you when you face other cultivators, Yuan said to them before taking a seat on the floor. Any questions before we start? One of the disciples raised her hands and asked, Senior Yuan, how long do we have to endure your killing intent? As long as you can. I will be doing this all day. If you must retire, leave. But if you want to come back afterward, you can do so. Once there were no more questions, Yuan took a deep breath and turned dead silent. After a moment of silence, an overwhelming amount of killing intent suddenly burst from Yuan's body like a volcano, shocking everybody there. Aya! Many disciples screamed in terror the moment they felt his killing intent, and some of them even fell unconscious. Despite the chaos, Yuan continued to release his killing intent, filling the entire training area with it. This guy. Qi Feng couldn't stop her body shaking from fear, and her body quickly became soaked in sweat. Even the elders like Qi Man and Qi Huan couldn't sit still. Eventually, Yuan had to lower the amount of killing intent he was releasing, as too many disciples were falling out too quickly, which would make his training less effective. As for his killing intent, most of them were from his memories as the evil god. Killing intent can only be formed through one's experience as a killer, and with his memories as the evil god, someone who has killed countless people. Even a tiny amount of his killing intent was enough to render everyone in the Qi family useless. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 785. Published at 8th of March, 2022, for 48 and 13 seconds AM. Chapter 785. 785. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 785. Hovering in the air, it did not matter if it was Meishio, Chu Liuxiang, Qi Feng, or even the elders. None of them were able to endure Yuan's killing intent for more than 10 minutes continuously, or they would risk pissing their pants from fear. The weaker disciples were even worse, giving up every 2 to 3 minutes before returning after a 15-minute break. How does he emit such strong killing intent? Do you think he's killed a lot of people before? After all, you can only acquire killing intent from killing things. The disciples mumbled to each other while they took a break. Honestly, I wouldn't be too surprised if that was the case. He's so damn powerful, who can stop him? He can probably kill everyone on this island and get away with it. I don't think he's a killer. He just doesn't give me that feeling. As for his killing intent, it could be acquired from for all we know. If you have the time to talk, you have time to go back to training. Why yes, elder. And for pretty much the entire day, Yuan would remain seated at the center of these disciples, keeping his killing intent going. Every hour, he would increase the killing intent slightly, so the disciples would never feel comfortable with his killing intent, allowing them to improve at a steady and quick rate. I know I told you not to go easy on us, but heavens! I've never had such intensive training before. Chu Liuxiang sighed out loud after the training ended, feeling sticky all over her body because of her sweat. Are you okay, Meishio? Yuan noticed that she was a little pale after the training. Yes, I am fine. She nodded in a dazed manner. Yuan frowned and said, You shouldn't push yourself so hard. You could hurt yourself. Don't worry, I will be fine after some rest. She smiled. Even if Meishio is a lot stronger than most people due to the treasure she consumed, not to mention her cultivation technique that trains the soul, she is still only a spirit warrior. Yuan could tell that Meishio was pushing herself to get stronger, most likely because she felt that she was too behind when compared to Chu Liuxiang and the others, but he wasn't sure how to convince her to slow down. Sometime later, everyone returned to their room to rest. They were so exhausted that most of them were knocked out before they could even change out of their clothes. In fact, the entire island appeared to be deserted for the rest of the day, and the only ones walking around were the servants that did not participate in Yuan's training. As for Yuan, even though it was also exhausting for him to keep releasing his killing intent, he would fully recover within an hour. Once he fully recovered his energy, Yuan sat on his bed and began trying to use Qi manifestation. After consuming the demon core, his cultivation had a huge breakthrough, surpassing Spirit Master and soaring all the way to the 5th level of Spirit Grandmaster. Now that he was a Spirit Grandmaster, he wondered if he could learn Qi manifestation and start flying in the sky like he does in Cultivation Online. However, just like everything else, it was much more difficult to learn techniques in the real world than in Cultivation Online. I can release my spiritual energy outside my body, but I am having a hard time controlling it. This doesn't make any sense. How come I can learn everything with ease in Cultivation Online, yet everything feels more difficult in this world? Does Cultivation Online somehow increase our comprehension level? It would make sense why things feel easier over there. After practicing his Qi manifestation for pretty much the entire night, Yuan finally gained the ability to control his Qi manifestation. However, he does not seem to be able to fly just yet. I may not be able to fly without support, but what if I use a flying sword? Yuan summoned his Empyrean Overlord and proceeded to make it hover using Qi manifestation. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Once he was comfortable with controlling the sword, he jumped onto the sword. Ha ha ha. It's working. I am hovering in the air. Yuan laughed out loud as he hovered in the middle of the room while standing on his sword. He immediately began working on his balance in the air, and once he was comfortable with that, he started controlling the sword to make it fly around the room. This training made Yuan recall when he first learned how to balance on a flying sword after being taught by Xiaohua. After recalling Xiaohua, Yuan suddenly had a realization. Wait a minute. If I can summon my soul weapons in this world, perhaps I can somehow summon Xiaohua and the others into this world as well. The thought of summoning Xiaohua and the others to this world was so outrageous that it never even appeared inside Yuan's mind, but now that he thought about it, he really wanted to see it happen. Yuan quickly stopped his training and took a deep breath. Once he cleared his mind, he tried to call for Xiaohua and the others like he normally would in Cultivation Online. Xiaohua? Can you hear me? Feng Feng? Ying? If you can hear me, come out. Yuan tried calling them for 5 minutes straight, but he did not get any response from them. Fortunately, I kept my expectations down. But this begs the question. How come I can summon my soul weapons but not my servants? Is it because they are tools and not living beings? Or maybe Xiaohua and the others are too far away to hear my summoning? He began pondering for a solution, but in the end he returned to practicing flying around on his flying sword. Guess I will have to ask them about it when I return home. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 786. Published at 9th of March, 2022, 9:30 and 5 seconds AM. Chapter 786. 786. If audio player doesn't work, Press stop then play button again. Chapter 786. Exhaustion. The following morning, Yuan went to meet up with Chu Liuxiang and Meixiu before going to the training area. How do you feel? Yuan asked Meixiu as they walked to the training area. Much better. She nodded with a confident smile. However, she still looked as pale as yesterday, which made Yuan worry a little. Are you sure? You should probably stay back and rest today. Chu Liuxiang said to her. Really, I am fine. I have experienced much worse before. Meixiu said. If you say so. Once they reached the training area, Yuan would take a seat in the middle of the place and said to those that were already there. I will begin now. Those that are not here right now can join later. He waited until everyone there was sitting around him before he started to release his killing intent. This time, he started out with weak killing intent and gradually increased it. Even though the disciples had spent all day enduring the same killing intent yesterday, they did not feel any better today when being pressured by the killing intent. In fact, it felt even worse for them, who were exhausted yesterday and haven't fully recovered. Regardless, almost everyone that was there yesterday was also there today with a few exceptions, such as those that got sick or were too traumatized by yesterday. However, about an hour into their training, Yuan suddenly stopped his killing intent and stood up in a panicked manner. Meixiu. He jumped over the crowd of disciples and landed in front of Meixiu, who had just collapsed onto the ground. His reaction was instantaneous, as had been keeping his divine sense on her the entire time. Yuan could hear Meixiu breathing heavily, almost as though she was having trouble breathing. Is there a doctor here? He shouted out loud. Here. Because of their dangerous training method, the Qi family made sure there were plenty of doctors on standby just in case anything were to happen. Over a dozen doctors quickly surrounded Yuan and checked Meixiu's condition. She collapsed from exhaustion and she has a fever. It's nothing life-threatening. The doctors explained to Yuan after their assessment. Thank you. Yuan picked up Meixiu before speaking out loud. Sorry, but I am going to have to end today's training earlier than usual. Don't worry about it. If you need anything, let us know. There will be a doctor available for you around the clock, until she is recovered. Qi-man said to him. Sometime later, Yuan carried Meixiu back to her room and placed her on the bed. I knew something like this was going to happen when I saw her condition. Chu Liuxiang sighed as she stood beside Yuan. I don't understand. Why is she working herself to such an extent? Yuan shook his head. If anything, Meixiu's workload has dramatically decreased since they left the Yu family, so it didn't make sense for her to collapse from exhaustion. Just what on earth is she doing that's causing this? I'm sorry. Meixiu suddenly mumbled in a low voice. And she continued. I didn't want to fall behind you and everyone else, so I worked extra hard to improve my cultivation. Oh. Yuan was speechless. He didn't think Meixiu would be worried about such a thing. How silly. Chu Liuxiang suddenly said and she continued. If you want to catch up to Yuan, you'll be chasing for the rest of your life, and even then, you won't catch up. If you're talking about everyone else, you've already caught up. You're a spirit warrior, right? There aren't many spirit warriors in this world even today. The 6 spiritual families, the Chu family, and the Qi family. They're all abnormal families that have a huge advantage over everyone else because of their prior knowledge on cultivation. If you take them out of the conclusion, you're one of the top cultivators in the world, so you shouldn't worry about catching up. Yuan then said, I don't want to sound arrogant, but Lulu is right, Meixiu. I can consume demon cores, and a single one of them increases my cultivation by leaps and bounds. Unless someone has the same physique, I cannot imagine how they'll achieve the same results without consuming a massive amount of treasures, and such treasures are not easily attainable in this world. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Meixiu had no response, as everything Yuan and Chu Liuxiang said was the truth. It was simply foolish of her to try and catch up to Yuan, who has heaven-defying talents that allowed him to achieve Spirit Grandmaster within a couple of months after he started cultivation. Anyways, get some rest. Seeing you like this, I also feel like resting some more. Yesterday's training was too stressful, Chu Liuxiang said a moment later. Sorry. Yuan felt the need to apologize for some reason. Don't you dare make the training easier just because of this, though. I want. Yuan smiled. If you need me, I will be right next door. Chu Liuxiang returned to her own room shortly after. Once they were alone, Meishio spoke in a low voice. Yuan. What's the matter? Are you in pain? I will immediately get the doctor. No, that's not it. She quickly stopped him. My body is still soaked in sweat. I cannot go to sleep like this, and I'll dirty the bed. Oh, sorry. Can you turn on the water for me so I can take a quick shower? I will be there in a bit. Of course. Yuan went to the bathroom and turned on the shower for her. Sometime later, Yuan returned to the room to see that Meishio had just stripped naked. Can you help me to the bathroom? I cannot exert any strength for some reason. Meishio suddenly asked him. Yuan nodded and he asked, do you want me to wash your back as well? Meixia's face flushed slightly redder after hearing his question, but she didn't refuse. If you don't mind, she nodded. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 787. Published at 10th of March, 2022, 2:09 and 7 seconds AM. Chapter 787. 787. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 787. Taking care of Meishio. Why would I mind? Yuan said as he walked next to Meishio so that he could support her. Meishio wrapped her arm around his neck while Yuan held her by the waist, walking her to the bathroom. Once they were inside the bathroom, Meishio removed her bath towel and sat down on a small wooden chair. Can you hold the shower head for me? Sure. Yuan took the shower head and started rinsing her body. Okay, that's enough, she said a moment later. Should I wash your back now? Yuan asked. Seeing Meishio nod her head, Yuan squeezed some body wash onto his palms before he started washing Meixia's back with his bare hands. Her skin is so smooth, Yuan thought to himself, and he couldn't help but recall the time when their naked bodies embraced each other. Once Meixia's whole back was covered in soap, Yuan said, Okay, I am done. However, Meishio remained silent. Meishio? Are you okay? Yuan quickly asked her in a worried voice. Why yes. Sorry, I dazed out just now, she responded in a low voice. Then she said, Yuan, can I ask you to wash my front as well? Perhaps it was because of her fever, or maybe it was because of the sensation of Yuan's hands on her back just now, but she felt hotter than usual, and that made her bolder than usual. To the front? Of course. Yuan was a little surprised to hear such a request, but he didn't refuse. Thank you. Yuan squeezed more body wash onto his palms before moving to the front, where he could see the best features on Meixia's naked body. After swallowing nervously, Yuan began washing Meixia's front. He started with her neck before going down to her breasts, then stomach. Once he reached her legs, Meishio willingly spread her legs for him. Yuan took another deep breath before washing her legs, slowly moving towards the slit between her legs. Meishio suddenly released a gentle moan when Yuan's fingers began rubbing against her sensitive spot. When he heard this beautiful sound that tickled his ears and heart, Yuan's movement sped up a little, almost as though it was trying to match the pace of his heart that was also speeding up. Meixia's moans also got more constant and louder as the sensation of Yuan rubbing her slit became more intense. A few moments later, when Yuan realized what he was doing, he quickly stopped and pulled his hand back. Sorry, my body acted on its own just now. He apologized. It's okay. I didn't dislike it either, she said with a gentle smile on her face. Yuan swallowed hard after hearing her words. Anyways, let me rinse you off before you catch a cold. Thus, he quickly began rinsing her body until there was no more soap left. After helping her dry her body, Yuan carried Meishio back to her bed, where he also helped her change into her pajamas. After helping you today, I understand the efforts it requires to take care of someone. I won't say that I understand the efforts you and Yuro put to take care of me, but I understand that it's not an easy thing to do. Yet the both of you make it look so easy. Anyways, get some rest, Meishio. I will be here if you need me, Yuan said to her. However, when he tried to leave, Meishio suddenly grabbed his hand. What's the matter? He asked her. My body. It's very hot. Help me. Calm it down, Meishio said as she stared at him with a charming gaze. Calm you down? How do I? Meishio suddenly regained some of her strength and pulled Yuan onto her. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Yuan. Let's have sex. She whispered to him. Yuan's jaw dropped open after hearing her flabbergasting words, and he quickly said, We can't. You have a fever, and you need to rest now. I can't rest with a restless body. Just for a while, okay? Meishio looked at him with these pleading eyes that could instantly melt even the coldest men out there. However, Yuan remained unfazed inside. Just endure it for now. Your body is too weak to do anything right now. Once you have fully recovered, if you still want to have sex, we can do it for as long as you want. You promise? I promise. He nodded vigorously. Meishio didn't say anything else and closed her eyes, quickly falling asleep. Yuan released a sigh of relief afterward. He then sat a few meters away from the bed and started to cultivate in silence. Meishio woke up a few hours later and said, Yuan, I'm hungry. I will tell the Qi family to cook something for you, Yuan said before going outside, where a servant was on standby, and he explained the situation to her. I understand. We will have something cooked as soon as possible. The servant bowed to him before running off to find a chief. Half an hour later, the servant returned with a bowl of rice porridge and handed it to Yuan. Can you feed me? Meishio asked him. Of course. Yuan agreed, and he started spoon-feeding her the rice porridge. Once Meishio cleared the bowl of rice porridge, she laid back down on the bed and said, Yuan, can you give me a kiss? Sure. He gave her a gentle kiss on the lips. Despite Meishio acting a little weird and more demanding than usual, Yuan didn't mind it at all, and he even found it a little bit refreshing. After all, Meishio was raised to keep everything to herself, and that included her desires, so she rarely asks for anything. Once Meishio fell asleep again, Yuan returned to his cultivation. However, Meishio wouldn't fully recover until 2 days later, and during this time, Yuan was the one who took care of her every need, just like how she took care of him when he couldn't move his body. No matter her request, with a few shameless exceptions that her body wouldn't be able to handle at its condition, Yuan did everything Meishio wanted with no questions asked. With this new experience, Yuan learned that he really enjoyed taking care of others, as it made him feel useful in another sense, and he felt that he was finally returning favors to Meishio, who took care of him when he needed it the most. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 788. Published at 11th of March, 2022, 3:09 and 7 seconds AM. Chapter 788. 788. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 788. Do you want to do it now? How do you feel? Yuan asked Meishio when she woke up on the third day after she collapsed from exhaustion. I'm completely fine now. Thank you for taking care of me, and I'm sorry that I kept you from your training sessions. I must have been a burden. Meishio lowered her head in a shameful manner. The last time she was even slightly sick was over a decade ago. After all, there's no need to apologize. I only took care of you for 3 short days while you took care of me and my sister for years. If you ask me to continue taking care of you, I would agree, and I wouldn't utter a single complaint. What are you going to do now that you've recovered? Continue training? Chu Liuxiang asked her. Meishio looked at Chu Liuxiang and shook her head. No, I am going to stay in today. Even though I have recovered, I would like to rest some more. That's a good idea. However, I am ready to go back to training. What about you, Yuan? Are you going to resume training? Yuan nodded. Even though I promised the Qi family that I'd stay for 2 weeks, things just keep coming up, shortening that time to 1 week. Sometime later, Yuan and Chu Liuxiang went to the training area. If you need anything, there will be a servant on standby outside. Yuan said to Meishio before leaving. Once she was alone, Meishio returned to her bed, but she didn't go to sleep. Instead, she got under the blankets and removed her pants and underwear. Yuan. You idiot. Meishio sighed in a low voice before she started relieving herself. Meanwhile, when they arrived at the training area, Yuan said to the disciples there, I apologize for the delay, but I will be resuming my training sessions today. For the next 2 days, we will continue practicing with my killing intent. And for the final few days, we will be sparring with each other just like the first day, but you will also have to endure my killing intent while trying to seal me. Yuan gave the Qi family some time to prepare themselves before he took a seat and released his killing intent. When Qi Man and the other elders heard that Yuan had returned to the training area, they quickly stopped whatever they were doing to participate in the training, as they also benefited greatly from his training. After 3 days of break, the Qi family fully recovered from their fatigue. However, that did not make it any more comfortable for them, as they were still struggling to endure Yuan's killing intent. At the end of the day, Qi Man approached Yuan and asked him, How is your lady friend doing? She's recovered, but she didn't join us just in case. Well, unlike us, she's in no rush to train. Qi Man said with a smile. What do you mean? Yuan tilted his head in a questioning manner. We only have a limited amount of time to train with you, but your friend, on the other hand, will have her entire life to train with you. Qi Huan suddenly appeared and said, Why don't you take Qi Fang with you? She may have a problematic personality, but I can guarantee you that she's worth it if you can tame her. Tame me? Why are you treating me like I am some sort of animal? I don't need to be tamed. Qi Fang overheard their conversation and quickly refuted. Also, there's no way that I'd ever follow him. Qi Man turned to look at her and said, Really? Because I recall how you always mention how you will only follow someone who is stronger than you. If you ask me, I think he's much stronger than you. Qi Fang opened her mouth, but she couldn't refute his accusations, so she could only close it back up a moment later and feel embarrassed about the whole thing. Anyways, I am going to check up on Meishio. I will see you all tomorrow. After Yuan and Chu Liuxiang left, Qi Man turned to look at Qi Fang and sighed. What are you thinking, you silly girl? We were trying to get you a worthy partner. Qi Fang frowned. You think I don't know that? It's precisely because I don't want to be his partner that I intervened. Why not? He's not only talented but also very young. If you ask me, there's probably nobody out there that's more worthy than him as a partner, especially for families like our Qi family. Qi Huan said. You want me to partner up with my disciple's partner? Just how desperate do you think I am? And even if I was that desperate, I wouldn't do such a thing. Visit Readle. Me for extra chapters. The young lady from the Chu family? What makes you think that they're partners? They seem close, but I think he seems closer to Meishio. Qi Man asked out of curiosity. He wouldn't fight the entire Chu family over her if they didn't share a special relationship. Qi Fang snorted. Wait, he fought the Chu family? They looked baffled by this information. Why are you telling us this just now? What happened between Yuan and the Chu family? It's a long story and I am tired. We have plenty of time. Qi Fang sighed. Fine, I will tell you about it, but let me shower real quick first. Meanwhile, inside Meixius' room. How are you feeling now? Yuan asked her. Bored, she sighed. And frustrated. What's causing your frustration? Yuan raised his eyebrows. A lot of things. Is there anything I can do to help? After a moment of silence, Meishio responded while staring at him from the bed. Do you remember your promise? My promise? Yuan pondered for a moment before coming to a realization and blushing. Why, you mean? I thought that was something you said due to your fever. The two of them proceeded to stare at each other in awkward silence. Eventually, Yuan broke the silence and said, Do you want to do it now? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 789. Published at 11th of March, 2022, 3:09 and 6 seconds AM. Chapter 789. 789. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 789. To make things even, Chu Liuxiang. Where is she? Meishio suddenly asked about her whereabouts. She returned to her room to shower after training. Meishio nodded and continued. Lock the door first. After locking the door, Yuan returned to bed. What are you waiting for? Take off your clothes. Meishio said to him as she removed her own clothes. Yuan swallowed nervously, and also removed his clothes. Even though this isn't their first time doing such a thing, he still couldn't help but feel nervous about it. Once they were both naked, Meishio said to him, sit over here. Yuan nodded and got onto the bed. The next moment, Meishio moved beside him and rested her head on his shoulders. Yuan, do you hate it when I am like this? She suddenly asked him. Why would I hate you? There's no way that would happen. He quickly replied. Even though I am such a pervert? Ever since we did it for the first time, I have been thinking about it non-stop, and every time I look at you, my body gets hotter and would crave for your warmth. I never had such feelings before. Yuan smiled and said. To tell you the truth, I have been thinking about it as well. Yuan. Meishio tilted her head slightly and kissed him on the lips before adjusting her position. Once she was ready, she opened her mouth and began sucking Yuan's sword. A few minutes later, they embraced each other, and their bodies intertwined. Meishio moaned softly as she indulged herself with the sensation of Yuan's rod rubbing inside her. More. More. When Yuan heard Meixia's charming voice, he felt a rush of adrenaline flow through his body, causing his hips to move faster. However, after a few minutes of intense thrusting, Yuan suddenly halted his movements when he heard someone trying to open the door. Yuan immediately used his divine sense to see who it was, and to his surprise, Chu Liuxiang was standing outside of the room with her hand on the doorknob. It's Lulu, he said to Meishio in a whispering voice. I will handle it. Meishio nodded. Who is it? She then spoke out loud. It's me. I'm here to check up on your condition, Chu Liuxiang said. Can you open the door? It's locked. Sorry, but can you come back later? I am about to take a bath. Also, I am fine, Meishio said. After a moment of silence, Chu Liuxiang continued. What about Yuan? Do you know where he's gone? I went to look for him at his building, but he didn't appear to be there. I'm not sure. Maybe he went to speak with the elders. Okay. Since you're okay, I won't bother you any longer. Enjoy your bath. Chu Liuxiang left right afterward. Meishio released a sigh of relief. I don't know why, but it feels like we're doing something we're not supposed to. The feeling of not wanting to get caught. Yuan sighed. That's a normal response, especially since we're doing something like this. It makes me feel like I am betraying Chu Liuxiang for some reason, and I don't really like this feeling. Yuan shook his head. Meishio stared at Yuan's face that showed genuine concern, and she smiled. We don't have to hide like this if you don't want to. I will talk to her later. Really? That also feels wrong for some reason. Yuan raised his eyebrows. Meishio smiled and said, well, our relationship is a little special, but we'll get used to it. Okay. I will leave it to you. Yuan nodded. They continued to embrace each other shortly after, and they would not stop until it was almost midnight. I'm going to speak with Chu Liuxiang now, Meishio said to Yuan, who was drying his body with a towel. Do you want me to come with you? He asked. No, I think it would be better if I speak to her by myself. Meishio showed him a beautiful smile before leaving the room. A few moments later, Meishio knocked on Chu Liuxiang's door. Who is it? Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. It's me. Are you busy right now? No, you can come in. The door's unlocked. Meishio entered Chu Liuxiang's room the next moment. Inside the room, Chu Liuxiang was sitting on her bed in the lotus position. She had been cultivating this entire time. Can we talk? There's something that I need to tell you, Meishio said to her. Chu Liuxiang smiled and pointed at the chair beside the bed. Sit down. Once Meishio was sitting, Chu Liuxiang spoke. So, what do you want to talk to me about? It's about Yuan. Yuan? You mean how you're sleeping with him? Chu Liuxiang said. dropping this massive bomb out of the blue. Mixius' eyes widened with shock, and she had this look of total flabbergast on her face. How did you? Chu Liuxiang laughed at Mixius' response and calmly said, You know, spirit masters such as myself have much sharper senses than most people. I could hear you moaning the moment I walked near your room, and I could sense Yuan's presence inside the room with you. I pretended that I didn't know anything so that you could enjoy yourselves. I'm sorry. Meishio sighed. Why are you apologizing? Chu Liuxiang raised her eyebrows. You're not angry? I know how much you want to start a family with Yuan, yet I still went ahead and… Angry? Why would I be angry? Chu Liuxiang became bewildered, and she continued. Do you remember the talk we had in the Immortal Caves? I do. Meishio nodded. Even though I am no longer with the Chu family, my feelings haven't changed. As long as Yuan is happy and I have a spot in his heart, I don't care how many partners he accepts. And to make things even, I have also slept with him, so you don't need to feel guilty, Chu Liuxiang revealed, leaving Meishio utterly speechless. Why you slept with him? Since when? Meishio asked in a dazed voice. Just a few days ago. It was our first time. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 790. Published at 11th of March, 2022, 6:09 and 7 seconds AM. Chapter 790. 790. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 790. Sleeping together, a few days ago? When he was sick. Meishio raised her eyebrows in a puzzling manner. Chu Liuxiang nodded. That's right. He was actually looking for you at that time, but you were away, so I stepped in to help. One thing led to another, and our bodies ended up intertwined with each other. I had my suspicions already at that time, but I confirmed it today. Anyways, now that we both know the truth, what are you going to do? I don't mind sharing him. Meishio didn't immediately respond, and the hesitation in her eyes were quite clear. Of course, she didn't have any problem with Chu Liuxiang being with Yuan, but she never thought that she would be sharing a man with another woman. It's okay if you say no, but just so you know, I won't back down, Chu Liuxiang suddenly said. Just think about it. Someone like Yuan, he will never have an ordinary life, and I think that he will only have more partners in the future. Meishio sighed. I know. I was trained to be nothing more than a bed warmer for Yuan. Even if I had feelings for him, I would not have a place beside him as an official partner. That's what I had prepared myself for. However, all of that changed when we left the Yu family. I am no longer just a bed warmer, and I can stand beside him not as a mere servant, but as his partner. She took a deep breath and continued. If you truly do not mind sharing him, then I also have no problem sharing him. That is my decision. Chu Liuxiang smiled and extended her hand to Meishio. Then we'll be something like sisters after today. Sisters? Meishio raised her eyebrow. Yes. Since we're both going to be his wife in the future, we might as well treat each other like sisters. That's how my father's wives treat each other. So nice to meet you, Sister Meishio. Seeing the wide smile on Chu Liuxiang's face, Meishio couldn't help but smile as well, and she accepted the handshake. Let's go see Yuan together, Chu Liuxiang suddenly said. Okay. They went to see Yuan in Mixius' room shortly after. Yuan, we have an announcement to make, Chu Liuxiang said to him. Yuan swallowed nervously and nodded. I'm listening. Chu Liuxiang suddenly grabbed Mixius' hand and lifted their hands into the air. We have come to an agreement that we will both be your partner. Are you okay with that? Both of you as my partners. Yuan raised his eyebrows. And then he said, I thought you were already my partners. Why do you need to come to an agreement? Chu Liuxiang and Meishio were left speechless by Yuan's reaction. Oh, of course we have to come to an agreement. It's not really normal for one person to have multiple wives. If there's no agreement between the wives, it would be a chaotic and toxic family, Chu Liuxiang explained. Sorry, I didn't know. and I just assumed everything would be fine. Yuan sighed. Due to his inexperience with relationships, he didn't know what was the norm and what was abnormal, not to mention his previous lives' memories, where it's very common for a person to have multiple partners. Furthermore, everything flowed so naturally that he subconsciously thought everything was fine. Well, now you know, Chu Liuxiang said, and she continued, and if you ever decide to accept more partners, you should consult us first. We need to make sure that she's worthy and won't bring disorder to the family. That's our responsibility as your current partner. Yuan nodded. Okay. Good. Then to celebrate this moment, let's all sleep together tonight. Chu Liuxiang suddenly suggested. What? Meishio turned to look at her with wide eyes. Chu Liuxiang realized what she had just said and chuckled. You misunderstood me. I mean, we should just sleep on the same bed, normally. I may be okay with sharing him. I don't think I am ready to do that kind of stuff just yet. Oh. Meishio blushed when she realized her mistake. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. I don't mind. Yuan nodded. Then it's decided. We can sleep in this room since we're already here. Chu Liuxiang said. Sometime later, they got onto the same bed and went to sleep. Yuan slept in the middle of the bed while Chu Liuxiang and Meishio slept right beside him on both sides. Good night. Yuan said to them. Good night. They both said. The three of them quickly fell asleep. The following morning, Chi-Man looked around the training area but could not see Yuan or the other two. Have you seen Yuan? It's already time for training, but he's not here, and the ladies are missing too. He asked Chi Fong and the others, but they all shook their heads. Of course, Yuan and the others had overslept due to feeling too comfortable from sleeping together. Chi Fong, can you go check up on them? Chi Huan asked her. Why me? She sighed, but she still went to check on their situation. Chi Fong went to Yuan's living quarter first, but when she saw that his place was empty, she went to Chu Luxiang's room. It's also empty. Where did they go? Chi Fong frowned, feeling something was off. She went to Mixius' room last and subconsciously opened the door without knocking since the last two rooms were empty. The door wasn't locked, allowing Chi Fong to walk right into Mixius' room. And to her absolute shock, Yuan and the other two were sleeping peacefully on the bed. When she witnessed this and realized the situation, her eyes widened and her jaw dropped. This brat. I am speechless. Turns out that we were both right. He's actually in a relationship with both Meishio and Chu Liuxiang. Chi Fong cried inwardly. He's so young, yet he's already like this. I cannot imagine what he'll be like in the future when he's all grown up and mature. She swallowed nervously. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 791. Published at 11th of March, 2022, 6:09 and 6 seconds AM. Chapter 791. 791. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 791. Overslept. Shortly after Chi Fong entered their room, Yuan subconsciously woke up when he sensed a foreign presence within the room. He immediately used his divine sense, and when he saw Chi Fong standing by the door with a flabbergasted expression, he calmed down. Senior Chi? What are you doing here? Yuan sat up on the bed and asked her in an oddly calm voice. Do you know what time it is? Everyone is already waiting for you at the training area. Chi Fong said with a frown on her face. What? It's already morning? Sorry. I overslept. Yuan quickly woke up Meishio and Chu Liuxiang. 5 more minutes. Chu Liuxiang mumbled in a low voice. Meishio immediately sat up after being woken up. And when she saw Chi Fong standing at the door with her arms crossed, Mixia's face flushed with redness, and she felt like she had been caught red-handed. Lulu, it's Senior Chi. We're late for training. Yuan tried to wake her up again. What? When she heard his words, Chu Liuxiang quickly sat up and turned to look at the door, and sure enough, she could see Chi Fong standing there. And Master! Chu Liuxiang jumped out of the bed like a startled cat. I don't want to hear anything. Just get dressed and head to the training area if you plan on training today, Qi Fang said to them before turning around and walking out of the place. When she returned to the training area, Qi Man asked her, "What happened? Where's Yuan?" "Don't worry, he's perfectly fine. He just overslept." "Overslept? I guess it happens to even the best of us." Qi Man chuckled. "By the way, do you remember our talk the other day? About who his partner is?" Qi Fang suddenly asked. "Yes, what about it?" "Turns out they were both his partners. They were sleeping together when I found them." Qi Man and Qi Huan's jaw dropped slightly after hearing this information. After a moment of silence, Qi Man suddenly started laughing. "What an impressive lad. I should be surprised, but I am actually more impressed. He's earned my admiration. Ha ha ha." Qi Huan shook her head with a smile. "Young people nowadays are sure active. However, a man of his caliber, I am really not surprised." "What are you going to do now, Qi Fang? This proves that Yuan is willing to accept multiple partners. You can be one of them." "No way in hell." Qi Fang frowned. "Don't come complaining to us when it's too late. We're saying this for your own good." Qi Man sighed. "I won't regret anything. This is my decision." A few minutes later, Yuan and the other two showed up at the training area. "Sorry for the delay. I overslept." Yuan apologized to the disciples there. All of the disciples there were already seated in a circle, so Yuan only needed to get to the center and release his killing intent to begin the training. A few moments later, Yuan began their training. His killing intent swept the area and instantly terrorized the people there. And those that were not prepared were immediately eliminated, losing consciousness. When that happened, the doctors on standby rushed to the scene and grabbed the unconscious disciples out of the zone. Of course, Yuan purposefully avoided the doctors with his killing intent, so that they could assist the disciples. However, even without directly feeling Yuan's killing intent, they could still feel the pressure. After many hours of training, Yuan retrieved his killing intent and called it a day. That night, Yuan slept together with Chu Liuxiang and Meixiu again. The following morning, they made sure to wake up properly, and they made their way to the training area after eating breakfast. "Today will be the last day of your endurance training. Starting tomorrow, you will be fighting me," Yuan said to the disciples before he started the training. "Finally, this hellish training is over. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters." Many of the disciples released a sigh of relief at the end of the day when they realized that they no longer needed to experience Yuan's killing intent ever again. However, then they realized that they will be fighting against the same monster who releases the killing intent, and that made them nervous again. The next day, Yuan showed up at the training area with a new appearance that left the disciples dumbfounded. In order to make the training feel more realistic, Yuan had decided to paint his skin red, so that he would look more like a real demon. What the heck is that? You look ridiculous." Qi Fang couldn't help but laugh when she saw Yuan's appearance. Yuan smiled and said, "I know, but I still wanted to try it." Sometime later, Yuan picked 10 disciples to fight him. "You can use any weapon or technique. You also don't need to worry about hurting me, so give me all you've got." Once they were prepared, the 10 disciples launched their assault on Yuan. However, when Yuan released his killing intent, the disciples halted their movements and froze on the spot. "Why are you all just standing there? I had you all endure my killing intent for a reason. Hurry up and attack me. If I was a real demon, you'd all have died the moment you showed even the slightest sign of weakness." Yuan shouted at the disciples, snapping them out of their daze. The disciples proceeded to endure Yuan's killing intent and continued their assault on him, but their movements were quite slow and sluggish. Eventually, Yuan defeated all of the disciples. "Don't worry, you'll all improve. This is why we're training." Yuan said a few words of encouragement to them before picking 10 more disciples to fight. At the end of the day, only the elders Chu Liuxiang, Meixiu, and Qi Fang were left. "All of you can come at me," Yuan said to them. "Are you sure?" Qi Man swallowed nervously. "I am." Yuan nodded with a smile. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., Please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 792. Published at 12th of March, 2022, 5:36 and 7 seconds AM. Chapter 792. 792. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 792. Magic trick. Once they were ready, all of the elders within the Qi family along with Meishio and Chu Liuxiang surrounded Yuan. In total, there were 25 people that will be participating in this spar, and most of them were spirit masters, with Meishio being the only spirit warrior. Whenever you're ready, Qi-man said to Yuan. Yuan suddenly lifted his hand, and a large sword appeared out of thin air before falling into his grasp. This scene shocked everybody there, as they have never seen such a scene before. What kind of magic trick did he just do? How did he summon that huge-ass sword out of thin air? Is it really a magic trick? I don't know how he did it, but it doesn't look like magic. The disciples there mumbled to each other Yuan's magic trick. Of course, the elders were also bewildered by it. I wanted to ask you this last time, but how are you doing that? Qi Feng asked him with a slight frown. Yuan showed a playful smile and said, If you defeat me, I will tell you. Watch me. Qi Feng immediately pounced at Yuan with her sword already swinging towards him. Ding. Yuan casually blocked the attack with his Empyrean Overlord, and it felt as though she just struck a block of steel for Qi Feng. Don't forget about us. Qi-man and the other elders suddenly appeared around Yuan to strike him. Of course, Yuan saw them coming with his divine sense, and he dodged all of their strikes with his movement technique. Once he dodged the attacks, Yuan released his killing intent, which affected their movements, but not by much. And for the next few minutes, Yuan would defend and dodge all incoming attacks, and he made it seem so effortlessly. Corrupting blow. Qi-man suddenly released a devastating strike at Yuan with his sword. Yuan had no doubt that Qi-man's skill could easily cut through metal like a hot knife in butter just by its sharp aura, but he didn't run away and confronted the attack head-on. Clang! A minor shockwave swept the training area when their swords collided, and Qi-man was sent flying back many meters from the backlash. However, Yuan only moved back a single step, shocking the spectators. The disparity in their strength is too huge. Suddenly, without even turning his head, Yuan moved his sword beside his head, almost like he was trying to hide behind it. The next moment, an arrow struck the blade of his sword, and Yuan could feel an immense force behind this seemingly ordinary arrow, one that was even stronger than Qi-man's strike. After being pushed back a couple of steps, Yuan turned his head towards Meishio, who was standing many meters away with a bow in her hands, and he smiled. No bad. This must be the technique you recently got, Yuan said as he began moving towards Meishio. But before he could get close to Meishio, Yuan felt an overwhelming force flying towards his direction, causing him to halt and turn around. Bang! A massive amount of spiritual energy collided with Yuan's sword, nearly sending him flying. After stabilizing his body, Yuan turned to look at Chu Liuxiang, who had just released that powerful attack. Are you okay? Chu Liuxiang asked him afterward. Yes, I am. Yuan nodded with a smile. Out of all of his opponents, Yuan found that Meishio and Chu Liuxiang were the most annoying with their long-range attacks, and when he tried to defeat them first, the other would interfere. Obviously, he wasn't truly trying to defeat them, or he would have defeated everybody there with a single strike, and that would defeat the purpose of their training. I am not done yet. Qi Feng suddenly appeared behind Yuan, and thrust her sword at his back. However, Yuan had already anticipated her movements and attack, so he shifted his body just enough to dodge Qi Feng's attack, before countering with his empty hand. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Qi Feng cried out loud when Yuan's fist met her stomach. An intense pain filled her stomach that quickly spread throughout her body, causing her to kneel on the ground. Shit. That freaking hurts. What are you going to do if I cannot have a baby in the future, because you punched so damn hard? Qi Feng complained. Yuan's body froze when he heard Qi Feng's words, and he said in an apologetic voice, sorry, but I didn't use that much strength. Know that much strength? Then you clearly don't know your own strength. You nearly blew a hole in my stomach. Qifeng cried. Do you need a doctor? Yuan approached her. However, when he got close enough, Qifeng suddenly stood up and attacked him. I got you now. Wah. Because Yuan had lowered his guard, Qifeng managed to send him flying with a direct hit. Damn, that felt great. I have been wanting to hit you for a while now, Qifeng said with a satisfied look on her face. When the elders saw Qifeng's shameless action, they couldn't help but shake their heads. Pretending to be hurt and striking when he lowered his guard? That was very shameless and childish of you. Qi-man sighed, feeling second-hand embarrassment from her act. Qifeng coldly snorted. What are you talking about? He said to defeat him using any means possible. And who said I was pretending? That really hurt. My stomach is in pain even now. She's right, senior. I had lowered my guard and she got me. In a fight against demons, you must use any means necessary to win, Yuan said with a calm smile on his face after getting back up and seemingly unscathed. Are you okay? That looked like it hurt. Qi Huan asked him. Yes, I am perfectly fine. Yuan nodded. Anyways, let's continue. Okay. They continued to spar with each other for another hour, until most of the elders were too exhausted to continue. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 793. Published at 12th of March, 2022, 6:18 and 5 seconds AM. Chapter 793. 793. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 793. Their last day. I haven't sweat like this in many years. You have my gratitude, Yuan. Qi-man said to him after the training ended. I will see you all back here tomorrow. We'll be doing this until it is time for me to leave, Yuan said. Of course. We'll all be here until the last minute. Once they returned to their room, Meishio said, I have rested enough. I need to continue to improve my cultivation. Yuan nodded. I also need to practice my qi manipulation so that I can fly. W8. What? Fly? Chu Liuxiang looked at him with wide eyes. Yuan smiled and summoned his Empyrean overlord, showing them that he could fly with it. My God. The ladies stared at him with shocked expressions on their faces. Once you reach Spirit Grandmaster, you'll be able to manipulate your spiritual energy outside your body, allowing you to do things like this. Yuan explained to them. Spirit Grandmaster. Wait. You're a Spirit Grandmaster now? Since when? Chu Liuxiang asked. Since I swallowed the demon core. Oh right. Too bad that I will probably never reach Spirit Grandmaster in this world. I don't have your talents, nor do I have the resources. Don't lose hope. I'm sure we'll work something out. Yuan said. There may not be enough resources in this world, but there are plenty in. We know that treasures and also affect us in this world as long as they are strong enough. We've tested this before. Once we return home, we'll use the money from Feng Feng to buy treasures to boost our cultivation. Okay. Chu Liuxiang nodded. The following morning, Yuan returned to the training area for another day of training. This would continue for a few more days, until it was time for them to return to the Dragon Spiral Mountain. Today will be my last day here, and this is our last training session, so I want you all to give it your all today, Yuan said to the disciples there before starting the training. At the end of the day, the Qi family gathered before Yuan. Thank you for everything, Yuan. Qi-man bowed to him with clasped hands. The disciples behind him followed his actions and bowed to Yuan. Don't even mention it. The more people that can fight demons out there, the better it is for us, Yuan said with a smile. By the way, before we leave, can I take a look at your techniques? Yuan then asked. Of course. I will take you there. Qi-man nodded. You guys can go back and pack up. I will be with you later, Yuan said to Meishio and Chu Liuxiang. Okay. They nodded. Sometime later, Qi Man and Qi Huan brought Yuan to the building where they stored all of their demon sealing techniques. It's not much, but Qi Man pointed to the small stack of scrolls sitting on top of a desk. Yuan approached the desk and began reading through the scrolls. I already know these techniques from the Demon Sealing Clan's Grand Library. Yuan wasn't too surprised by the results since the Demon Sealing Clan created all of these techniques. You're done already? Qi Man asked when he noticed Yuan putting the scrolls back down after glancing at them. Yes, I am. Yuan smiled. I guess they're really worthless in your eyes, huh? Qi Huan couldn't help but sigh. That's not it. I already know these techniques, so there's no point for me to learn them again. What? How is that possible? Where did you learn these techniques? Cultivation online. Qi Man's eyes widened with shock. Visit Riedel. Me for extra chapters. You mean to tell me that our family's demon sealing technique exists inside a video game? It's more than just a video game. It's what revealed the existence of cultivation to the world. It really makes one wonder who on earth created this game and why. Qi Man mumbled. I am trying to search for answers myself. Hopefully I will get them soon. Yuan said. As they left the building, Qi Man said, anyways, if you need anything else from our Qi family, we will do our best to assist you. As for the demons in the Dragon Spiral Mountain, we will continue to prolong their seal until we cannot. Actually, there is one thing I would like. Yuan said, and he continued. Can you give me the locations of all of the demons that your family has found? You said there are dozens out there, right? Do you plan on going to these places and dealing with the demons yourself? Qi Huan couldn't help but ask. No, but it's better to have knowledge than not having any. Qi Man nodded. All right, I will give you a map of their locations. It'll be ready before you leave. Thank you. Sometime later, Yuan returned to Meishio and Chuliuxiang. We're fully packed. We can leave whenever. Yuan nodded and he asked, where's the manager? I haven't seen her since you arrived. Now that you mention it, I also haven't seen her. Chuliuxiang puts on a pondering face. The Qi family should know. I will go ask them. Yuan left the room shortly after to look for the Qi family, and he ran into Qi Fong. Senior Qi, do you know where the manager went? I haven't seen her for almost 2 weeks now. Yuan asked her. She's not in any of our guest rooms, so she can only be on the plane, she said. The plane? For the last 2 weeks? Yuan was speechless. Qi Fong smiled and said, you really know nothing about the manager, huh? She may not look like it, but she's someone who would rather lay around all day and do nothing. Whenever she gets the chance, she will turn into a sloth. She's probably in her room watching television and drinking alcohol from her bed, even as we speak. I understand. Thank you for the information. Yuan said. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 794. Published at 13th of March, 2022, 3:36 and 9 seconds p.m. Chapter 794. 794. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 794. Leaving the Qi family. By the way, when do you guys plan on leaving? Qi Fong suddenly asked him. We plan on leaving before midnight, so that would make it home by morning tomorrow. Good. The family's preparing a feast for you, so make sure you attend it before you leave. That's all. Qi Fong notified him of a feast before leaving. Yuan returned to Meishio and Chuliuxiang shortly after. They're throwing a feast for us, so we'll leave after that, he said to them. They nodded. About 2 hours later, Qi Fong returned to tell them that the feast was ready. Yuan and the others followed Qi Fong to this large banquet hall, where one side was stacked with tables and chairs, and the other side with food. What do you think? This is the least we can do for you before you leave. Qi Man approached him with a smile. The food looks terrific. I can smell them all the way from here. Yuan smiled. You can eat all the food you want. After all, this is your feast. Qi Man laughed. Yuan wasted no time and immediately grabbed a plate, multiple plates. Since he could use Qi manifestation, he used it to carry over a dozen plates of food without lifting a single finger, which shocked everyone that saw it. How the hell are you doing that? Qi Feng asked him in a shocked voice. Huh. It's Qi manifestation. You can use it too. Yuan raised his eyebrows. What? No, I can't. But I saw you use it. When we first fought, you used Qi manifestation to move the sword. That sword is a treasure, and it has this unique ability that allows it to fly to me when I call for it. I won't be able to do that with other things such as plates. Qi Feng said, leaving Yuan speechless. You can't use Qi manifestation even though you're a spirit grandmaster? I have never even heard of Qi manifestation until today. And even though I am a spirit grandmaster, I only recently reached this level. It wasn't easy, and it required almost all of our family's resources. Qi Feng explained. If you want, I can teach you Qi manifestation, but at another time. Yuan then said. It essentially allows you to manifest and control your spiritual energy outside your body, and you can treat it as though it's another part of your body. It's a really convenient skill. You should learn it. Qi Feng swallowed nervously after hearing Yuan's words. No doubt, she really wanted to learn Qi manifestation, especially after seeing what Yuan could achieve with it. There are unlimited possibilities with this ability. You promise? Yes, it's a promise. All right. I will be waiting. Once they were seated, Yuan proceeded to consume all of the food on his plates in a speed that left everyone around him baffled. Fuck, is there something that he's not good at? He's even talented in eating. He reminds me of a certain pink and round character in a certain game. The disciples mumbled to each other as they ate. A few rowdy hours later, Yuan and the two ladies by his side made their way outside the Qi family's headquarters, and the entire Qi family was there to see them off. Yuan, erase the map that you requested. It has the location of the demons on it, at least the ones that we, the three families, know of. Yuan nodded and said, if any of these demons are close to breaking their seal, I want you to let me know immediately. Don't worry, you'll be the first one I call when that happens. Thank you. No, thank you. Qi Man smiled. I will escort them to the plane. Qi Feng suddenly said, willingly volunteering to help. Oh. Her grandparents looked at her with funny expressions on their faces. You would have told me to do it anyway, right? Who knows? They laughed. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Let's go. Qi Feng ignored them and said to Yuan's group. Once they arrived at the plane, Qi Feng said, Liuxiang, stay behind for a moment. After Yuan and Meishio entered the plane to wait for her, Qi Feng spoke. I have been your master for how long now? Almost 10 years? I was only 16 years old when I started teaching you. At first, I treated you like a little sister, and even as you grew up, my views did not change. I may be strict at times, but they were for your own good. You're sounding like we'll never meet again. Chu Liuxiang looked at her with a questioning gaze. Qi Feng smiled and said, you're no longer the immature little girl that I used to know, and you're already a spirit master. I don't think I have anything else to teach you. Not to mention that you have an even better teacher than me already by your side. Why, Yuan? He's not my teacher. I know, he's your partner. Chu Liuxiang nodded with a slightly rosy face. Qi Feng's eyebrows twitched upon seeing her reaction. Then she asked, have the two of you already? You know. Done it. Chu Luxiang's face grew even redder as she nodded her head. Looks like you've also surpassed me in some aspects of life. A bittersweet smile appeared on Qi Feng's face. Huh. Chu Liuxiang looked at her with wide eyes. Master, you're still a virgin? How unexpected. I have a very particular taste in men and I haven't met the right person yet, okay? Do you have a problem with that? And don't call me master anymore. I am letting you go as my disciple. Chu Liuxiang smiled and suddenly lowered her head, bowing to Qi Feng. Thank you for everything, Senior Qi. I also saw you as an elder sister before. I still do even now. Take good care of yourself, okay? And you can just call me Sister Feng. Qi Feng smiled. You too, Sister Feng. Take care of yourself, and I hope to see you again soon. The two of them exchanged a quick hug before Chu Liuxiang boarded the plane. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 795. Published at 13th of March, 2022, 3:36 and 7 seconds p.m. Chapter 795. 795. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 795. Soon after entering the plane, Yuan used his divine sense to look for the manager, and sure enough, just like Qi Feng had said, she was lying on her bed with alcohol in one hand and food in another, and she was watching the television. Compared to her image at the Dragon Spiral Mountain, she was like a different person. After snapping out of his surprise, Yuan knocked on her door, which startled her, who was distracted by the television. "Manager, we're ready to return to the mountain," Yuan said to her. If you're ready, press the button and fly back already. The plane is fueled up and ready to go," she said to him, not even bothering to leave the bed. Okay. Once Chu Liuxiang entered the plane, Yuan pressed the red button in the cockpit and started the plane. "Where's the manager?" Chu Liuxiang asked once they were in the air. "She's in her room," Yuan said. And he continued, "Anyways, we have a couple of hours before we return home. Let's cultivate while we are still in the air. For some reason, the spiritual energy up here is far superior. Maybe because it's much purer up here than down there," Chu Liuxiang said. They began cultivating shortly after until morning came and the plane landed. "Manager, we've returned home." Yuan knocked on her door when they landed. A few moments later, she came out of the room looking like a professional businesswoman, and nothing about her could suggest that she was a lazy person. They all exited the plane, but when Yuan saw the manager getting into her car, he began having flashbacks of his traumatic experience with her. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and get into the car," the manager said to him when he was the only one standing outside. Yuan swallowed nervously and entered the front seat. The moment Yuan felt the car wheels turning, his heartbeat quickened. However, to his surprise, the car didn't move at the speed of light, and the manager was actually driving responsibly. "Are you okay?" Yuan asked the manager in a worried voice. She turned to look at him and frowned. "You think there's something wrong with me?" "Well, you're acting weird," he said. "Is that so? Then I should probably act normal again, huh?" "Huh. I don't mean." Before Yuan could even finish his sentence, the manager stepped onto the accelerator all the way, and the car immediately sped up. "I'm sorry if I offended you, manager. Just slow down," Yuan exclaimed. Too late for that. And for the remainder of their journey back to the Dragon Spiral Mountain, they continued at maximum speed, which was over 150 miles per hour. Once they reached the mountain, the manager finally slowed down. "We're here. You can get out now. Except you." The manager looked at Yuan. "You guys can go back first and let the others know that we have returned," Yuan said to Meishio and Chu Liuxiang. "Okay." Once they left, the manager drove Yuan to the peak of the mountain. "We're going to see the Lord?" Yuan asked. "What else are we going to do? Watch the scenery?" Sometime later, they entered the fog on foot until they reached the peak of the mountain. Yuan approached the cave at the center while the manager stayed behind and watched from a distance. "How was the Qi family? Did you make any new friends?" The Lord's voice resounded from within the cave. "Yes, I made a lot," Yuan said. And he continued, You could have at least told me that I was going to kill a demon for them before sending me there." "Oh, did I not tell you? I must have forgotten." Yuan frowned and he said, "If I cannot trust you now, why would I trust you in the future, when you tell me about cultivation online?" The Lord remained silent after hearing Yuan's words. "It was just a test, and you passed it flawlessly." "Test? What kind of test is that?" "To see whether you can really kill demons or not. And I wanted to see if you would deal with the demon, even though it was not part of our agreement. This shows that you really care about dealing with demons." Visit Readel. Me for extra chapters. Anyways, now that you have returned safely, can you tell me about what happened at the Qi family? Yuan took a deep breath and recalled his experience there. He spoke about defeating the demon, and he spoke about training the Qi family. Interesting. This may seem sudden, but when do you plan on dealing with the demons on the mountain? When? How am I supposed to know? We don't even know when the demons are breaking out of their seal. It shook. The Lord suddenly interrupted. Excuse me? Yuan raised his eyebrow in a questioning manner. The dragon spiral mountain shook 3 days ago, and the crystal is a lot redder. The demons. They're breaking out of their seals soon. Soon? Yuan swallowed nervously. He was confident in handling one demon, but if he had to fight 11 demons at once, I really hope you're ready by then. The Lord said. After a moment of silence, Yuan said, I will. Anyways, if there isn't anything else, I'd like to return home and prepare. You may go. Sometime later, Yuan returned home to find everyone sitting around the diner table. Welcome back, Yuan. We've heard everything already from Meishio, Wang Ming said. Not everything. Yuan shook his head. What do you mean? The mountain shook 3 days ago, right? The demons are close to breaking out of their seal, and I will be transferring the demon sealing techniques to you now so that we can prepare. Oh, we can finally learn the demon sealing techniques? Nice. Yes. Get in line. I am going to transfer the techniques to you guys now. Wang Ming and the others quickly got in line to receive their demon sealing techniques. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 796. Published at 15th of March, 2022, 11:36 and 20 seconds AM. Chapter 796. 796. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 796. A world outside the 9 heavens. After giving everyone their demon sealing technique, Yuan said to them, we don't have much time before the demons break out of their seal, so we'll need to prepare ourselves. I will begin learning this technique immediately. Wang Ming said. Everyone returned to their rooms shortly after, and began training their demon sealing techniques. What are we going to do now, Yuan? Chu Liuxiang asked him. Prepare. I am going to return to the demon sealing clan's grand library, and learn as much about demons as I can. You two should also prepare. Okay. They both nodded. Yuan entered while everyone else practiced their demon sealing techniques. After arriving at the demon sealing clan's grand library, Yuan immediately began looking through manuals about demons to see if he could learn any more weaknesses on demons. However, there wasn't any information that he didn't already know. Why are you studying so hard? You're going to stare a hole in that manual at this rate. A voice suddenly resounded behind Yuan as he was completely absorbed in the manual before him. He turned around to see Yanhara standing behind him with a smile on her face. You could have at least let me know that you were back, she said. Sorry, I just got back today, and I am in a bit of a hurry. Hurry? What's the rush? She glanced at the manual in his hands and mumbled, Demons? Little founder, are you in trouble? With demons? She asked him with a frown on her face. Well, where? Yanhara's voice suddenly became serious. I'm sorry, senior, but even if I told you, you wouldn't be able to get there. This is a problem that only I can solve. After a moment of silence, Yanhara spoke, Follow me. But follow me, she suddenly shouted, causing everyone there to turn and look at them with intrigued gazes. Oh. Yuan placed the manual down and followed Yanhara to a private room. After shutting the door, Yanhara pointed at a chair and said, Sit down. Now tell me about your demon trouble. I don't understand why you'd want to hide this from me, but I want to help you, she said to him. I am telling you, senior, even if I told you the truth, you wouldn't be able to do anything about it because you won't be able to reach that place with the demons. Yuan sighed. Whether I can help or not, I will decide after I hear your explanation. Yuan sighed, and after a moment of silence he spoke, There are some demons that will be breaking out of their seal soon, and I am preparing so that I can deal with them. Are you insane? Yenhara suddenly exclaimed, and she looked at him with complete disbelief. Little founder. Real demons are nothing like the low-grade artificial demons that you have been fighting. They are a real threat and incredibly dangerous. You cannot try to deal with them by yourself, especially when you're just a spirit lord. Tell me the location of these demons, and I will alert the demon sealing clan. They're in a place called Earth. Yuan calmly responded. Yenhara silently stared at him for a good minute before speaking. This is not a joking matter, little founder. If we don't deal with these demons soon, it could spell disaster for the 9 heavens. I am not joking, and the demons are not located in the 9 heavens. Yuan stared back at her with a serious face. What the hell do you mean they're not in the 9 heavens? Yenhara frowned. Like ID said, they're on a place called Earth, and this place doesn't belong in the 9 heavens. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. And I am well aware of how dangerous demons can be. After all, I have already encountered a few of them. Yenhara's eyes widened with shock after hearing Yuan's confession. You. Just who are you, little founder? She asked him in a low voice. You wouldn't believe me even if I told you. He sighed. This place. If it's not within the 9 heavens, then it can only be a realm that exists outside of the 9 heavens. I have always heard rumors that such places exist, but there has never been concrete proof. You came from outside the 9 heavens? Yuan smiled upon hearing her somewhat accurate deduction. Something like that, he shrugged. Unbelievable. Yenhara muttered in a flabbergasted voice. Now you understand why you, nor the demon sealing clan could help me, right? I know you're worried, but it's okay. It's not my first time fighting, even killing a demon. After another long moment of silence, Yenhara asked, How many demons have you encountered and killed so far? Yuan pondered for a moment to count. 6 demons? Had killed 4 in the Mystic Realm, 1 in the Jaded Garden, and 1 in the Chi family. 6 demons? Yenhara repeated in a dazed voice. He's killed even more demons than me. How is that possible? He's only a spirit lord. She cried inwardly. She did not want to believe Yuan, but she couldn't see any lies within his clear eyes. I know 6 sounds like a lot, but it's really not, considering how there are dozens of sealed demons that are about to break out of their seals in that world. Yuan sighed. Dozens of sealed demons? Just what kind of world is that? It sounds so ridiculous. Yenhara sighed. And 6 demons is a lot. Do you know how many demons the average demon sealers kill? 0. Freaking 0. I am one of the top demon sealers in my generation, and I have only killed 3 demons, which is already considered a freaking miracle. Of course, this is mostly because demons are pretty much extinct. If not for that fact, I would have killed many more demons. Yuan Hara sighed, trying to justify her low kill count compared to his. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 797. Published at 15th of March, 2022, 11:36 and 19 seconds AM. Chapter 797. 797. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 797. Demons ranking. Anyways, since the demon sealing clan cannot help you with your demon problem, you'll have to deal with it yourself. Since you're already an expert at killing demons and the future divine paragon, I'm sure you'll do fine. Yenhara said. Yuan raised his eyebrows. Just a moment ago, she was telling him how dangerous demons are, and that he won't be able to handle them by himself. Yet after learning that Head killed twice as many demons as her, she has suddenly become supportive and even confident in his abilities. How confident are you? She suddenly asked him. Not that confident. I won't know the demon's strength until they break out of their seal, and that is my biggest worry. What if I cannot handle the demon? What if the demon is much stronger than me? Yuan sighed. Well, Fortunately, most demons that just break out of their seal are at their weakest state, and it would take them days to weeks to recover their strength. Yenhara said, "Do you have any suggestions on how I should prepare?" Yuan then asked. "Since you've already killed 6 demons, you can continue doing whatever you were doing, as it clearly works. Also, I know of a way for you to check a demon's strength even if they are sealed." "Really? How?" Yuan's eyes immediately began flickering with excitement. "Come with me." Yenhara opened the door and walked him to the open area with the artificial demons. Once there was an available spot, Yenhara took it and sealed the artificial demon before it could even move. "Put your hand on this sealed demon, and use your spiritual energy to penetrate the seal to analyze the demon's strength. But want that risk unsealing the demon? It'll be fine. If you could unseal a demon so easily, the demon sealing clan would be a laughing stock. Only demon sealing aura could unseal a demon," she said. Yuan nodded and approached the demon before putting his hands on it, feeling its stone-like texture. He closed his eyes next and used his spiritual energy to penetrate through the seal to check the artificial demon, and sure enough, he could not only sense the demon's cultivation, he could also sense its heartbeat and blood flow. "It works. I can sense their strength. This is great. Thank you, Senior," Yuan said to her with a bright smile. She nodded with a slightly rosy face and she spoke. "Do you have any other questions?" Yuan pondered for a minute before nodding. "How can I tell the difference between a low-ranked demon and a superior demon? And I would like to learn more about demon ranking in general." Yenhara nodded. "All right. Let's go to the library then." Sometime later, Yuan sat down in the library while Yenhara went to fetch a couple of manuals. When Yenhara returned, she placed the manuals on the table and began lecturing him about demons. There are 6 ranks of demons. From the lowest, lower demon, elite demon, superior demon, demon general, demon emperor, and ancient demon. You can judge a demon's rank by their appearance. Higher-ranking demons will have more unique features and abilities. Their crystals will also be slightly different from each other. Lower demons and elite demons will have a red crystal somewhere on their body, while superior demons will have a black crystal. However, demon generals and above do not reveal their crystals so openly, so if you see a demon without their crystal on the outside, there's a very good chance that they are a demon emperor, or even stronger. Something else that differentiates them is their control. A higher-ranking demon can control their emotions and rage much better than those inferior, so they are usually calmer and not as easy to provoke. However, once provoked, they will be multiple times stronger than usual. If you're fighting against a demon general or above, your best chance is to defeat them without provoking them, and you should never openly provoke a demon, as that would only fuel their powers even further. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Yuan began sweating cold sweat after hearing Yenhara's advice to not provoke them, as that's what he has been doing to the demons that he fought. He never thought that he was actually making them harder to fight by provoking them. Instead of provoking demons, you should make them scared of you. That is your #1 priority. Once a demon fears you, they will no longer be a threat. That's why the Divine Paragon was undefeated, as all demons feared him to some extent. "Make them fear me, huh?" Yuan nodded with a serious expression. "Here are a few examples of demons at each rank." Yenhara gave him another manual, but there were mostly pictures on this manual. Lower demons look pretty ordinary, red skin and horns, and they are usually the size of an adult human. Elite demons to demon generals would have special features such as being larger than normal, having a third eye, having wings, and much more. However, demon emperors and above, they can actually lack demon characteristics. "Huh? What do you mean by that?" Yuan asked. "It means that they can appear more like humans than actual demons. There have been demons that did not have their signature red skin and horns. Some demons in the past even looked exactly like humans. Rumor has it that these demons still live amongst us humans even today." Yuan was left speechless by this information. Demons that look exactly like humans? Then how are they supposed to tell the difference? Yenhara smiled and said, "I know what you're thinking, but the chance of that actually happening is very slim. Even if there are demons living amongst us, They won't do anything stupid to reveal themselves, and with the demonic realm sealed, they are powerless. Although humans were dominated by demons back then, things have changed. We're no longer as weak and vulnerable as our ancestors. We have the knowledge and techniques to fight back against them if they ever dare to return. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 798. Published at 15th of March, 2022, 11:36 and 18 seconds AM. Chapter 798. 798. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 798. Demon Sealing Pagoda. Thank you for the lecture, Senior. I learned a lot about demons today. Yuan bowed to her at the end of their lecture. We're not done yet, Yenhara suddenly said. Ha. Yuan tilted his head in a questioning manner. Come with me. I'm going to make sure that you're fully prepared to fight the demons. Yenhara then brought Yuan to this tall pagoda. What is this place? He asked her. Demon Sealing Pagoda. You will get to fight real demons inside. Well, sort of. What do you mean by that? They're either real demons or not. They are demons created with spiritual energy, so they're not really real, but they act exactly like real demons, and even their power level is the same, so it'll be like fighting against real demons inside. This treasure was created by the Divine Paragon, and it was used to train the Demon Sealing clan back in the days, but it requires a massive amount of spiritual energy to use, so we eventually stopped using it and started training with artificial demons, which is cheaper. Another reason we stopped using the treasure is because of its difficulty. Most demon sealers nowadays won't be able to pass the first floor, and there are 9 total floors. For the record, I got all the way up to the 4th floor. And you want me to train in this pagoda? Are you sure? It's expensive to use, right? Yuan looked at her. One of many perks of being a lecturer in this place is that we get to use the pagoda for free once every 10 years. Of course, it's not really free, since it'll be at the library's expense. Yenhara smiled. What do you think? You want to give it a go? Rumor has it that if you manage to defeat the tower, you'll get to acquire a legendary demon sealing technique that only the Divine Paragon knows. A legendary demon sealing technique. Yuan raised his eyebrows. If that is true, he will be able to acquire this technique even without challenging the pagoda. After all, he was the Divine Paragon. However, he still nodded his head. Yes, I would like to challenge the tower. In the end, he still needed practice. Even if he's the reincarnation of the Divine Paragon, it was not as though he has all of his previous memories and experiences. All right, give me some time to prepare. I also need to let the library know that I will be using the pagoda. Okay. About half an hour later, Yenhara returned to the pagoda and said, Whenever you're ready. I am ready. Yenhara then retrieved a golden key and used it to unlock the doors to the pagoda. You will get the rules once you are inside. The demons inside will be adjusted to match your power level, so you don't need to worry about being overwhelmed by a demon that you cannot defeat. However, this also means that you won't be able to dominate the demons like you normally do. I understand. Yuan nodded, and he opened the door. The moment Yuan entered the pagoda, the door slammed shut, and the pagoda suddenly started trembling with excitement. What is going on? This has never happened before. Yenhara muttered in a dazed voice. Suddenly, an outburst of demon sealing aura exploded from the demon sealing pagoda, sweeping the Grand Library with a massive amount of demon sealing aura. When the demon sealers within the Grand Library felt this ancient and unfathomable demon sealing aura, their bodies began trembling non-stop, almost as though it was reacting to the demon sealing aura. Whose demon sealing aura does this belong to? I have never felt such a powerful demon sealing aura in my life. The lecturers within the Grand Library were shocked speechless by this phenomenon. The entire Grand Library became nervous when this unknown demon sealing aura filled the place. Their initial thought was that a peak demon sealer had appeared within the Grand Library, So they immediately began looking around for the source of this demon sealing aura. Visit Me for extra chapters. Meanwhile, back at the demon sealing pagoda, Yenhara was staring at the top of the pagoda with a dazed look on her face for some reason. Divine Paragon? She muttered in a low voice. After the powerful demon sealing aura exploded from the pagoda, she noticed a figure had suddenly appeared on top of the pagoda, causing her to look. And to her absolute shock, there was a person hovering directly above the pagoda. And he looked awfully like Yuan, but he was much older and had this irresistible charm around him. I am possible. This must be an illusion caused by the demon sealing pagoda, but why? Divine Paragon. Is that really you? Yenhara spoke to him after snapping out of her daze. The Divine Paragon suddenly looked down at Yenhara and showed her a gentle smile before looking down at the pagoda that was right beneath him with a profound expression on his face. Yenhara's heart nearly exploded into countless pieces from excitement when she saw the Divine Paragon's smile that was directed at her. And it felt like a dream. Eventually, more people began appearing at the demon sealing pagoda after tracking the demon sealing aura. Of course, everyone that saw the Divine Paragon was shocked speechless at first. Why Yenhara? What's going on here? Why is the Divine Paragon here? Tangjing asked her after he arrived. I have no idea. He suddenly showed up after Yuan entered the demon sealing pagoda. Yenhara explained. Yuan. Tangjing turned to look at the pagoda. What in heaven's name is happening? Meanwhile, inside the pagoda, Yuan was currently being told the rules of the pagoda. Of course, the voice belonged to the Divine Paragon. Welcome to the demon sealing pagoda, young demon sealer. I will now tell you the rules of this place. If you break any of them, you'll automatically be casted out of this place. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 799. Published at 15th of March, 2022, 11:36 and 17 seconds AM. Chapter 799. 799. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 799. Superior Demon. First rule. You must defeat the demon before you to challenge the next floor. A demon suddenly appeared on the opposite side of the room. Yuan's eyes widened with shock when he saw that it had a black crystal embedded within chest. A superior demon? Are you kidding me? He muttered in a voice of disbelief. Second rule. You will have an hour to seal or kill the demon. Failure to do so will result in getting kicked out. Third rule. You cannot die while inside the demon sealing pagoda. If you die inside, you will be transported outside safely, but you will not be able to use the demon sealing pagoda for 30 days. When you're prepared to start the challenge, say ready out loud. Yuan closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He then summoned the Empyrean Overlord and the Starry Abyss. Ready. Whoosh. The scenery suddenly changes, turning the place into an empty and spacious field. Yuan looked around with a surprised face. Did he get teleported, or was this simply an illusion? However, he didn't have much time to think, as the demon started attacking him the moment the scenery changed. Yuan commanded the Starry Abyss to distract the demon, but to his surprise, the demon could sense the invisible Starry Abyss and dodge it perfectly. It's not only a superior demon, but it's also a spirit king. Is this demon really equal to my strength? Yuan cried inwardly. Bloody daggers. The demon suddenly summoned 2 crimson daggers using its blood, wielding it like some sort of edgy assassin. Whoosh. The demon kicked its legs and propelled forward like a bullet, shooting straight at Yuan at a ridiculous speed. The demon closed their distance almost instantly, but Yuan was able to barely react and block the strike. Boom. Yuan was sent flying from the impact. After quickly stabilizing himself, Yuan looked at his arms that were still shaking, and it felt like had been struck by a truck, as an ordinary human. This is freaking ridiculous. I need to focus on the fight, or I will not pass the first floor. Yuan quickly cleared his mind and focused on the demon with the obnoxious black crystal on its body. Iche. The two of them clashed with each other shortly after, and every time their weapons collided, the world there would seemingly shake a little. Boom. Bang. Clang. They went at each other's throat like animals that have been starving for days. And Yuan used all of his techniques against the demon. Heavenly Domain. Holy pressure suddenly bore down on the demon, but it barely affected its movements if any at all. Seeing that his heavenly domain didn't work on the demon, Yuan used Dragon's Gaze when the time was right. Dragon's Gaze. His eyes began emitting a golden glow that instantly stunned the demon. However, he knew that it wouldn't keep the demon stunned for long, so he quickly used this moment to attack the demon with the demon sealing strike. Normally, he only needed to hit the demon once for it to be sealed, but Yuan didn't want to take any chances, so he continued to swing his sword until he could no longer swing it. Yuan had managed to strike the demon 12 times with the demon sealing strike before the demon snapped out of its daze, but by that time, half of its body was already petrified. Looks like I made the right decision by not stopping. Yuan sighed inwardly when he saw that the demon was still only half sealed despite getting struck 12 times by his powerful demon sealing technique. Compared to the elite demon, this superior demon was far stronger. It was simply in a league of its own, and it took Yuan all of his efforts just to defeat it. Congratulations, you have managed to pass the first floor in 6 minutes. It's a new record. The Divine Paragon's voice resounded shortly after he sealed the demon, and Yuan was sent back to the pagoda. Here is your reward for clearing the first floor. A golden orb of light suddenly emerged from the wall of the pagoda and floated towards Yuan. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Yuan extended his hands and accepted the golden orb of light. The moment the light touched his palms, it entered his body and disappeared. Yuan suddenly felt an outburst of spiritual energy within his dantian, instantly raising his cultivation by 2 levels, reaching 4th level Spirit Lord. Furthermore, all of his fatigue disappeared, and he felt completely refreshed. You may proceed onto the next floor whenever you're ready. Yuan proceeded onto the 2nd floor through the staircase at the corner of the room. Welcome to the 2nd floor. You have 1 hour and 30 minutes to defeat the demon. Another demon materialized in the pagoda, but there was something different about this demon. The demon did not emit the power of a spirit king. In fact, its cultivation had been lowered to Spirit Lord. However, that was not the only change. This demon. It doesn't have a crystal on its body. This could only mean Demon General. The pagoda reduced its cultivation but increased its rank? It will most likely be as strong as the superior demon in terms of raw strength, but it will also have more techniques and tricks up its sleeves. When you're prepared to start the challenge, say ready out loud. The Divine Paragon's voice resounded. Ready. Yuan shouted out loud once he prepared himself. The scenery changed again. However, they were no longer in an empty field. Instead, they appeared to be on a platform inside a coliseum, and there were even spectators. Kill that demon. Kill it. The crowd cheered with excitement, their voices filled with passion and anger, causing Yuan's heart to tremble. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 800. Published at 15th of March, 2022, 1:48 and 9 seconds p.m. Chapter 800. 800. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 800. Demon General. Kill it. Kill it. Kill it. The crowd's cheering was so loud that it shook the platform Yuan was standing on, and he swallowed nervously. What a rowdy bunch. Don't you agree, human? A cold voice suddenly resounded. Yuan turned to look at the demon that just spoken. They can speak? The last one remained silent for the whole fight. Yuan thought to himself. Are you a mute or something? The demon raised its eyebrows at Yuan when he didn't respond. If I wanted to have a conversation with a demon, I wouldn't be here. Fair enough. The demon smiled at Yuan's words. Yuan suddenly felt a chill run down his spine, and he instinctively raised the Empyrean Overlord over his head. The very next second, Yuan could feel something heavy slamming into his sword. It was so sudden that it actually brought Yuan to his knees. What the hell is going on? Yuan was baffled by the situation. He could still see the demon standing on the other side of the platform, and there was nothing in front or around him, so what is the demon using to attack him? If I cannot see it with my bare eyes, then I have to use my divine sense. Yuan quickly activated his divine sense, and sure enough, he could see a translucent claw on top of him. This is Qi manifestation. He immediately recognized what the demon was doing, but he was still surprised by it. The demon was only a spirit lord just like him, but its Qi manifestation was multiple times stronger than his own. Yuan eventually stood back up and swung his sword, destroying the demon's Qi manifestation. However, the moment Yuan destroyed the invisible claw, the demon summoned another one, then another. Boom. Yuan used his movement technique to dodge the claws. Demons basically have unlimited spiritual energy, so it will be able to continue attacking me until I run out of spiritual energy. I need to think of something. Yuan pondered for a strategy as he continued to dodge the demon's invisible attacks. As for the demon general, it was just standing at the edge of the platform with a calm smile on its face, clearly not planning on dirtying its own hand. Suddenly, an outburst of demon sealing aura exploded from Yuan's body, creating a profound ripple that swept the platform. When the ripple touched the demon general's spiritual energy, it immediately dispersed like smoke. Not bad, the demon general said. I am not finished. Yuan quickly gathered as much spiritual energy as he could within a second before releasing the heaven-splitting sword strike at the demon. When the demon general saw the heaven-splitting sword strike, its initial thought was to just block it with its body, since it could just recover. However, it suddenly sensed a dreadful feeling coming from the heaven-splitting sword strike, forcing it to move from its spot to dodge the strike. The heaven-splitting sword strike barely missed the demon general, and crashed into the spectators' area, killing thousands of spectators. Of course, since this was just an illusion, the destroyed areas would restore itself, and the dead spectators would come back to life a few moments later. After dodging the heaven-spitting sword strike, the demon general looked at Yuan with a look of surprise on its face. You imbued your demon sealing aura into another technique? Are you really just a spirit lord? Right before he released the heaven-splitting sword strike, Yuan infused some of his demon sealing aura into the technique, which essentially turned the heaven-splitting sword strike into a demon sealing technique. Visit Readle.me for extra chapters. However, this is a technique that only high-ranking demon sealers learn, and not something a mere advanced demon sealer could achieve. It actually worked? Yuan was as surprised as the demon general, as he was only testing his theory. He figured that if demon sealing aura is what really harms demons, he could probably enhance his regular techniques with his demon sealing aura, making them demon sealing techniques. This could essentially turn any technique out there into a demon sealing technique. However, Yuan was unaware that in order to achieve such a feat, one would normally have to train for hundreds of years, and the reason he was able to do it was due to his past experience. Things are finally starting to get interesting. Entertain me some more, human. The demon general laughed in a chilling manner. Heavenly Domain. Yuan activated Heavenly Domain when the demon started running at him. The demon general's movement suddenly became sluggish, as Yuan had enhanced the Heavenly Domain with his demon sealing aura. Not bad. Not bad at all. However, you'll need much more than that if you want to defeat me, a demon general. 10,000 Ghost Blades. Yuan activated his newfound technique, cloning the starry abyss until there were 1,000 of them. The demon general was at a loss for words when it was suddenly surrounded by 1,000 daggers that looked identical to each other. Go! Yuan flicked his sleeves, commanding the 1,000-strong army of starry abyss to rain down upon the demon general. Of course, these starry abyss had all been imbued with his demon sealing aura, so each of these daggers was akin to a demon sealing technique. The demon general wanted to run, but there was nowhere to run, so it could only defend the attack head-on. The demon general used its chi manifestation and body to deflect the starry abyss. Although it managed to destroy a few dozen starry abyss, the demon general eventually became overwhelmed, especially since Yuan could always make more. The demon general released a deafening roar when it realized that it could not defeat Yuan's 1,000 starry abyss, and the very next moment, 1,000 holes opened up in the demon general's body, looking like a porcupine with 1,000 daggers stabbed into its body. Congratulations, you have managed to pass the second floor in 13 minutes. It's a new record. The divine paragon's voice resounded a moment later. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 801. Published at 16th of March 2022, 11:24 and 26 seconds AM. Chapter 801. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 801. Quick breakthroughs. Here is your reward for clearing the second stage. The golden orb of light returned, and Yuan quickly absorbed the spiritual energy from it. His cultivation immediately had a breakthrough, reaching the 7th level Spirit Lord from the 4th level Spirit Lord. Plus? Stats plus? Stats plus? Stats. I'm already at the 7th level of Spirit Lord after passing 2 floors. And there are still 7 more floors to go. This place is extremely good for raising one's cultivation base very quickly. Yuan wondered what his cultivation level would be at the end of all this. Sometime later, Yuan climbed to the 3rd floor. Welcome to the 3rd floor. You have 1 hour to defeat the demons. The divine paragon's voice resounded. Wait, demons? Yuan raised his eyebrows. Suddenly, 2 figures appeared before him. Of course, they were demons, and they were both demon generals with a cultivation of Spirit Lord. Heavens! I have to fight 2 of them at once now? Yuan swallowed nervously. When you're prepared to start the challenge, say ready out loud. The divine paragon's voice resounded again. Yuan didn't immediately start the challenge, and took a moment to mentally prepare himself. This will be his first time fighting 2 demons at once by himself. After taking a deep breath he spoke, ready. The very next moment, the 2 demon generals rushed at Yuan, attacking him from 2 different directions. 10,000 ghost blades. Yuan summoned 1,000 copies of his starry abyss, and used those to deal with one of the demons while he personally fought the other demon with the Empyrean Overlord. One would expect Yuan to dominate these demons because of his increased cultivation, but the pagoda increased the strength of the demon to match his strength, so it was just as difficult. Fortunately, Yuan had learned how to infuse his demon-sealing aura with his ordinary techniques, allowing him to fight the demons with more ease. Even though the demons match his strength, that doesn't necessarily mean they're equal, as one's technique and treasures can easily affect the balance. Of course, the demon-sealing pagoda also took into account his treasures and techniques, but there is only so much it can gauge. And when it comes to an unfathomable genius like Yuan, not even it could fully measure his full potential. Demon-sealing sword strike. Yuan swung the Empyrean Overlord at the demon, but it easily blocked it with its weapon made out of blood. After blocking the attack, the demon tossed the weapon away since it would be sealed by the demon-sealing aura. As for the other demon, it was slowly getting sealed by the starry abyss. Although each of the starry abyss lacked the demon-sealing aura to seal a demon with one strike, they could easily strike the demon multiple times before it could even react, slowly sealing it. After 30 minutes of fighting back and forth, Yuan eventually managed to seal one of the demons. A mere human. How dare you? Visit Readle.me for extra chapters. The demon roared, and its body began burning red, almost as though its blood had turned to lava. Its body also grew larger, but not by much. Boom. The demon suddenly disappeared from its position, appearing in front of Yuan before throwing a powerful punch at him. This time, Yuan was unable to react fast enough, and he was hit square in the chest by the demon. Whoosh. Yuan's body flew backward like a broken rag doll, landing many meters away. Shit. Even with all of my defenses, it still hurts like hell. He cried inwardly as he quickly stood back up. If it weren't for the invisible dragon cloak that doubled his defense stats, his body would have probably exploded into a bloody mess. Furthermore, even though the demon was only a spirit lord, it managed to penetrate the invisible dragon cloak's defense that blocks all damage from those below Spirit King. Though this is most likely because the demon general's true strength far surpasses a Spirit King, allowing it to bypass the armor's effects. I am impressed that you survived, human. What is your body made out of? Treasures? The demon general slowly approached him with a malicious grin on its face. After standing back up, Yuan spat out some blood, but his expression remained unfazed. 10,000 ghost blades. Yuan activated his most powerful technique again, sending 1,000 starry abyss at the demon general. However, the demon general merely stood there and allowed the daggers to hit its body. What? Yuan exclaimed inwardly when the daggers shattered on impact while the demon general appeared to be completely fine. The demon general, without even looking at its body, smiled and said, "You'll need to do better than that if you want to penetrate my defense." Yuan frowned as he could feel a sense of dread from this demon general that was clearly stronger than the other demon general. "Come, entertain me some more, human." The demon general continued to approach Yuan. Seeing this, Yuan commanded the rest of the starry abyss to attack the demon general, even if it might seem pointless. "It's useless. Ha ha." The demon general roared with laughter. Yuan tried to focus all of the starry abyss on a single location, hoping that he'd slowly break through the demon general's defense, but it was useless. The demon general suddenly leaped forward and swung its blood weapon, clashing with Yuan's Empyrean overlord. "Give up. You're just a mere human. Humans are born to serve demons. There is no way humans can ever defeat demons." The demon general provoked Yuan as they swung their weapons at each other, causing the surrounding space to shake with every swing. If that was true, you demons wouldn't be facing extinction right now. Yuan clapped back at the demon, leaving it speechless for a moment. Chapter 802. Published at 17th of March, 2022. 11:09 and 8 seconds AM. Chapter 802. 802. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 802. Assistance. 30 minutes left. The divine paragon's voice resounded once Yuan used up half of his time on the third floor. Ha. Yuan breathed heavily, his body covered in sweat. This is the first time that anyone has been able to compete against him so perfectly. No matter what he did, the demon general would always have a response to it. It was at this moment Feng Yuxiang's voice resounded. "Young master, would you like some assistance?" Yuan responded in a dumbfounded voice as he continued to block the demon general's attacks. He was so absorbed in his situation that had completely forgotten about their existence. "What do you mean by help?" "Well, I am your servant. If you wish, I can help you fight this demon. Of course, I won't be able to defeat it for you since I do not have the capability, but I can definitely stall it for you." "Can you even do that? Won't that be cheating?" Yuan asked. "Young master, do you truly know the relationship between a servant and master? You, young master, own our body and soul the moment we sign the servant contract. In other words, we are your possession. Therefore, we are no different than the soul weapons that you have been using this entire time." "What?" Yuan was left speechless by this information. This entire time, he could have had his servants help him? If that's the case, why couldn't you help me during the stairway to heaven? The stairway to heaven is a special place with special rules. This pagoda, however, doesn't appear to have such rules. There are no forces that prevents me from helping you. At least I don't feel them. And the fact that we were allowed to enter this place with you only further confirms it. After pondering for a moment, Yuan said, "Please help me distract the demon while I prepare for my attack." The next second, Feng Yuxiang came out of his body and flicked her sleeves, instantly engulfing the demon general in flames. However, she was not the only one who appeared, as Xiaohua also decided to show up. She clearly didn't want Feng Yuxiang to get all of the spotlight. Xiao Hua will help Brother Yuan as well, she said. Okay. Yuan nodded. Sorry, Yuan, but I most likely won't be of any help even if I come out, Lan Yingying said to him. She was only a spirit grandmaster, so she will most likely only hinder them instead of helping. It's okay, Yingying. We got this. Ha ha ha. What a surprise. This flame, Phoenix's flame. I have never tasted phoenix blood before. The demon general laughed out loud even as its body was still engulfed in flames. Distract it for me. I will prepare the heaven-splitting sword strike, Yuan said to them. Understood. Feng Yuxiang's black hair suddenly turned red, and her eyes glowed golden. Meanwhile, Xiao Hua's cultivation base exploded forward. This is my first time seeing Xiao Hua use all of her strength, Yuan thought to himself as Xiao Hua summoned a huge sword. Even though she couldn't use sword chi, she could still wield the sword better than many swordmasters. While the demon general was still covered in flames, Xiao Hua kicked her small feet and flew towards the demon without hesitation before swinging her sword, sending a massive sword light made out of spiritual energy at the demon. Whoosh! The sword light shattered the moment it struck the demon, but the demon wasn't unscathed either, as it clearly sustained some damage. However, Xiao Hua didn't stop there, and released a quick heaven-splitting sword strike at the demon. The ground shook as a massive beam of light swallowed the demon. Although Yuan is stronger than Xiao Hua overall, he actually lagged behind Xiao Hua in terms of techniques, especially when it came to the heaven-splitting sword strike. The heaven-splitting sword strike managed to destroy half of the demon general, but it quickly began recovering. It was at this moment that Feng Yuxiang released her technique. Burn in Hell. With the flick of her sleeves, Feng Yuxiang summoned a large phoenix created from her flames, sending it flying at the demon. Visit Readle Me for extra chapters. The heat from the flames were so intense that it slowed the demon's recovery, as the flames would quickly destroy the demon almost as quickly as it healed. I am ready. It was at this moment that Yuan started swinging the Empyrean Overlord. When Xiao Hua and Feng Yuxiang heard his voice, they returned to his body. The following second, Yuan released his heavenly splitting sword strike. Whoosh! Everything in front of Yuan was immediately erased from existence, including the demon general. Congratulations, you have passed the 3rd floor in 38 minutes. The divine paragon's voice resounded shortly after. Thank you, Feng Feng and Xiao Hua. I might not have defeated the demon general by myself if you didn't help. Yuan said to them afterward. Young master, we are your weapons and shield. You don't think your weapons every time you use them, right? Yuan smiled. Maybe I should. And don't lower yourself like that. You may be my servants, but you're also my valuable companions. I would never treat you like a tool. Sometime later, the golden orb appeared before Yuan, allowing him to absorb all of its spiritual energy. Ding. 9th level. I will be able to enter Spirit King once I pass the next floor. Yuan mumbled to himself. It's only been an hour since he entered the demon ceiling pagoda, and he's already increased his cultivation by almost an entire realm. He could only imagine how far his cultivation base will go after he finishes all 9 floors. However, with the increase in difficulty after every floor, he was a little worried about the future floors. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 803. Published at 17th of March 2022, 11:09 and 7 seconds AM. Chapter 803. 803. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 803. Experiencing death after clearing the 3rd floor, Yuan proceeded to make his way to the 4th floor of the demon ceiling pagoda. I had to fight 2 demons at once on the last floor. Will I need to fight 3 at once this time? He wondered to himself as he walked the staircase. Upon entering the 4th floor, Yuan waited for the divine paragon's voice to resound. Welcome to the 4th floor. You have 15 minutes to defeat the demon. The divine paragon's voice resounded a moment later. Only 15 minutes? Yuan exclaimed. He did not expect such drastic changes, going from having an hour to defeat the demon to just 15 minutes. However, he wasn't that worried, especially since he knows that he can rely on Xiaohua and Feng Yuxiang. The scenery suddenly changed from inside the pagoda to this hell-like scenery, where he was surrounded by lava. It looked like he was inside some kind of volcano, but he's never been to such a place before, so he wasn't certain. One thing that he is certain about is that it was immensely hot in that place with hot air blowing in his face constantly, almost like he was inside an oven. While Yuan looked around for the demon, he suddenly noticed a figure emerging from the lava. This demon had an appearance that Yuan hadn't seen before. Instead of its usual red skin, it had grayish skin this time, and it had a broken horn in its forehead that looked as though it had been cleanly sliced by a sword. As for its crystal, of course, it didn't have one. When you're prepared to start the challenge, say ready out loud. The divine paragon's voice resounded when the demon stepped onto the platform. However, before Yuan could even speak, the demon opened its mouth and spoke in a calm but indifferent voice. You're not worthy. Yuan frowned, but not because of the demon's arrogance. There was something about this demon that sent shivers down his back, and his instincts were telling him to avoid it at all cost. But he couldn't just give up without fighting it. He had to at least try. I will be fine with Xiaohua and Feng Feng by my side. Yuan calmed himself down with such words. The next moment, he summoned both of them before him. Young master, I am getting a dangerous feeling from that demon. Feng Yuxiang said to him the moment she appeared. Xiaohua agreed with Feng Yuxiang by nodding her head. We got this. Yuan said. Once they were prepared, Yuan spoke out loud, ready. The instant he uttered that word, the demon disappeared from its location before any of them could even make their move. Young master. Brother Yuan. Watch out. Both Feng Yuxiang and Xiaohua suddenly shouted out loud at the same time. Their voices filled with despair. However, Yuan couldn't understand why they screamed. At least not until he felt pain in his body. Yuan looked down at his body, and to his absolute surprise, there was an arm sticking out of his body. He turned around to see the demon standing behind him with its arm extended through his body. I told you. You're not worthy. The demon mumbled in a low voice before releasing a massive amount of spiritual energy into Yuan's body, causing his body to explode into countless pieces. When Xiaohua and Feng Yuxiang witnessed this scene, the scene of Yuan's death, their eyes widened with shock. How dare you kill Brother Yuan? Xiaohua suddenly roared, and an outburst of spiritual energy that surpassed the demon's aura erupted from her petite body. Her figure also grew a little taller. At least that was what Feng Yuxiang thought she saw before everything went black for both Xiaohua and Feng Yuxiang. Their vision returned almost instantly, and when it did, they realized that they were no longer inside the pagoda but outside, and Yuan was standing before them with a dazed expression on his face, almost as though his death never happened. Be Brother Yuan. Xiaohua immediately went to embrace him. Xiaohua. What happened? I thought I died just now. Yuan snapped out of his daze when he felt Xiaohua's arms wrapped around his waist. Visit Rieadle. Me for extra chapters. That's because you didn't actually die. Yin Harris' voice suddenly resounded. Yuan turned to look at her, and to his surprise, a crowd of people that wasn't there before he entered the pagoda was there now. When you die inside the demon ceiling pagoda, you will simply be transported out of the pagoda. She continued. After hearing her words, Yuan recalled one of the rules that mentioned it. I see. So I died to that demon. Yuan mumbled in a dispirited voice. What floor did you die on? Yenhara then asked. I died on the 4th floor by the hands of that weird-looking demon with gray skin. Yuan explained to her. It was so sudden. I couldn't even see its movements, and when I was aware of the situation, I was already dead. To the 4th floor? Yenhara mumbled in a voice of disbelief. Yuan had only been in the demon ceiling pagoda for an hour, and had managed to reach the 4th floor? Even more unbelievable was that had actually reached the 4th floor on his first attempt, something that hasn't been done since ancient times. In fact, It took Yenhara multiple attempts throughout the span of 1,000 years to reach the 4th floor. Just what in heaven's name was that gray demon? I have never encountered a demon like that one before. Yuan suddenly asked. Yenhara sighed. That demon is a demon emperor, sort of. What do you mean, sort of? Yuan raised his eyebrows. I will tell you later. For now, let's leave this place and go somewhere more private. As you can see, it's a little crowded here. Yuan nodded. By the way, who are those two? They appeared at the same time you left the pagoda, but I didn't see them enter with you. Yenhara pointed at Feng Yuxiang and Xiao Hua, who was still hugging Yuan. They are my companions. I will explain later. Yuan said with a smile. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 804. Published at 17th of March, 2022, 2:18 and 5 seconds p.m. Chapter 804. 804. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 804. Demon on the 4th floor, W8. Someone there stopped Yuan from leaving with Yenhara. Yuan turned around to see a middle-aged man that he did not recognize and he asked, "What is it? Did anything unusual happen in the demon ceiling pagoda while you were inside?" The middle-aged man asked. Unusual? Yuan raised his eyebrows. How unusual? That was my first time entering the demon ceiling pagoda, so I can't tell you if anything is out of the ordinary even if it happened. If you don't mind, can you give us a brief explanation on your experience inside the pagoda? The middle-aged man continued to ask. Can I ask why you want to know? The middle-aged man then said, because the divine paragon showed up when you entered the demon ceiling pagoda. That has never happened before. What? The divine paragon showed up? Yuan was shocked to hear this. He should be the divine paragon, so how did someone who is supposed to be dead and reincarnated show up? Well, not the real divine paragon, but an illusion of him. He showed up after you entered the pagoda, even releasing this unfathomable demon ceiling aura. However, he disappeared after a few minutes, and only a handful of people were able to witness it. I see. So that's what happened. Unfortunately, I didn't see the divine paragon inside, but I did hear his voice. This is what happened inside. Yuan proceeded to give a brief recollection of his experience within the pagoda to the people there. After hearing Yuan's story, the people there no longer questioned him, as they did not find anything unusual with his experience inside the demon ceiling pagoda. Can I go now? Yuan asked. Why yes. Sorry for bothering you, little founder. The middle-aged man bowed to him in a respectful manner. Although slowly, the people within the Demon Ceiling clan's Grand Library were beginning to treat Yuan differently. Perhaps it was due to his uncanny resemblance to the Divine Paragon. Or maybe they were just convinced by his overwhelming talents. These people were beginning to see Yuan as a potential leader of the Demon Ceiling clan in the future. Sometime later, Yuan followed Yenhara to her personal living quarters. All official lecturers are granted residency within the Grand Library. Are you okay? You seem off. Yenhara asked him once they sat down. Yuan showed a bittersweet smile before speaking. I experienced my first death today. Even though it wasn't real, it felt real. And the fact that I had been killed by a demon is also real. I have overestimated myself today, and put my companions' lives at risk. Fortunately, the demon wasn't real. If we had been facing a real demon outside the pagoda, I would have not only gotten myself killed but my companions as well. And the thought of this really bothers me. Brother Yuan. Xiao Hua, who was still sticking to his body like a slug, mumbled in a low voice. Clearly, she was also affected by Yuan's death. Not only did she fail to protect him, but he also died right before her eyes. Xiao Hua promised to protect Brother Yuan, but she sighed with teary eyes. This is the first time that Yuan has seen Xiao Hua cry with such emotions, and it made his heart sting. If we're all going to blame ourselves, then I blame myself for not being able to protect you, young master. Feng Yuxiang sighed as well. Seeing their depressed state and sensing the gloomy atmosphere, Yanhara spoke out loud. There's no need to blame yourself, all of you. You were up against a demon emperor, after all. Let me tell you something. Ever since the disappearance of the divine paragon and the decline of the demon sealing clan, nobody has been able to pass the 4th floor of the demon sealing pagoda, and only a handful of demon sealers were able to pass the 3rd floor. Yuan looked at her and asked, You said that it was sort of a demon emperor before. Visit Rietal. Me for extra chapters. Ah, that's because the gray-skinned demon isn't truly a demon emperor, but it's so much more powerful than a demon general that we cannot call it a mere demon general. However, a real demon emperor is even more fearsome than the demon on the 4th floor. It's something like a cultivator who is half a step away from entering the next realm. It's at a level that far surpasses anything at the same rank, yet it's not truly at the next rank. Yanhara explained. That makes a lot of sense. But for it to be that powerful when it's not even a true demon emperor, it makes me wonder about the real strength of a true demon emperor. Yuan sighed. Trust me, you don't want to find out. Yanhara smiled. Sometime later, Yanhara focused her gaze on Xiaohua and Feng Yuxiang. By the way, can you explain who they are, and why the little one is emitting the aura of an exile? Yuan's body shook when he heard Yanhara's words. It was also at this moment that he recalled Senior Bei's words, that those from the upper heavens would recognize Xiaohua to be an exile, and that exiles are hunted in the upper heavens. W8. I can explain. Xiaohua isn't a bad exile. Yuan immediately became defensive. Yanhara smiled when she saw this, and she said, Calm down. Although I am not someone who favors exiles, I am also not someone who would hunt them on sight. Honestly, I couldn't care less. While that may be true, what about all those people at the demon sealing pagoda? If you can tell that she's an exile, they should also know, Yuan said. Trust me, if they noticed, you wouldn't have been able to leave in one piece. Her exile aura is really weak right now for some reason, and I didn't notice it until we sat down, she explained. Yuan finally calmed down a little after hearing such words. Thankfully, Senior Yan isn't an unreasonable person. He sighed inwardly. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 805. Published at 19th of March, 2022, 9:09 and 23 seconds p.m. Chapter 805. 805. If audio player doesn't work, press stop then play button again. Chapter 805. Not human, she is Xiaohua, and this one over here is Feng Yuxiang. Yuan pointed at them and introduced them to Yanhara. Although they're my servants, I prefer to call them my companions. Yanhara raised her eyebrows and asked. Normal servants wouldn't be able to enter the demon sealing pagoda with you, so they must have signed a contract that binds their soul with your soul. In other words, they are no different than the soul weapons that you carry around with you in your body. That is correct. We are more than just servants. We are his most loyal servants, his weapon and shield. Feng Yuxiang said in a prideful voice. I see. And since she's an exile, you must be participating in the Supreme Heaven's legacy. How troublesome. Yanhara sighed. And she continued. You do know what it means to accept the Supreme Heaven's legacy, or the consequences of siding with an exile, right? I do. Yuan immediately nodded with a serious face. If others from the Demon Sealing clan or the Demon Sealing Grotto learn that you're helping an exile, it will become immensely more difficult for you to become the next leader, and there's a good chance that you could even get kicked out of the clan. Yanhara sighed. If you're asking me to choose between the Demon Sealing clan or Xiaohua, I would choose the latter without any hesitation. Yuan quickly said with a resolute face. Let's not get ahead of yourself. A bittersweet smile appeared on Yanhara's face. You might not care about the Demon Sealing clan, but as your lecturer, I truly want you to become the next leader of the Demon Sealing clan. And after what happened at the Demon Sealing Pagoda today, I believe that the divine paragon also saw something special within you, hence why he appeared when you entered the pagoda. Once the higher-ups learn of what happened today, they will definitely start paying more attention to you. And they might even outright approach you, so I suggest you keep your little friend hidden for as long as you're inside the Grand Library. I will keep that in mind. Yuan nodded. You should also keep in mind that even if she is hidden in your body, there are people out there that can still see her. If you truly want to keep her safe, you'll need a treasure that blocks all probing, but in order to acquire a treasure powerful enough to block even the most powerful cultivators, it won't be easy. I would help you, but I do not have the capabilities to acquire such a powerful treasure. It's okay, I will figure something out. Thank you, Senior, for your help. Yuan said to her. I am your lecturer. I am supposed to help you, even if the subject is a little unethical. Yanhara smiled, and she continued while looking directly at Xiao Hua. By the way, you should probably go back. Your exile aura. It's getting stronger. However, Xiao Hua immediately refused by shaking her head, and her grasp on Yuan tightened. Seeing this, Yuan patted her head and said, It's okay, Xiao Hua. I am safe in this place. What happened in the Demon Ceiling Pagoda was due to my carelessness. It won't happen again. Damn right you are safe in this place. Who would dare to touch you, who has the face of the divine paragon? In this place filled with his admirers and fanatics. That would be a crime punishable by death. Yanhara added. After a moment of silence, Xiaohua nodded her head and reluctantly returned inside Yuan's body. As for Feng Yuxiang, she decided to stay outside for a little longer since she wasn't worried about getting hunted. Yanhara's attention turned to look at Feng Yuxiang now that Xiaohua's presence was gone, and she asked, You have a unique aura around you. It's like you're human but also not at the same time. What are you? In response to Yanhara's question, Feng Yuxiang changed her hair to red and her eyes to golden. Yanhara's eyes widened with shock when she realized what she was looking at. Why, you're a phoenix? Yanhara muttered in a voice of disbelief. Is there a problem with that? Feng Yuxiang said. Visit Riedel. Me for extra chapters. Yanhara swallowed nervously and said, Phoenixes are some of the most prideful creatures roaming in the 9 heavens alongside dragons. I cannot imagine a creature like that would be willing to become a human servant, binded through your souls, much less. Feng Yuxiang coldly snorted and said, I am not just the servant of any human. The young master is special. I wouldn't even categorize him as human. He's different from the rest of you humans. Yuan raised his eyebrows and said, You don't see me as human? I don't mean it like that. You're human, but above a human at the same time, like a celestial being. Feng Yuxiang tried to explain herself. Yanhara couldn't help but let out a chuckle after hearing Feng Yuxiang's words, and she said, You know, according to some ancient document, after the divine paragon conquered the demonic realm, there were countless divine beasts that would offer themselves to serve him. And yes, this included phoenixes and even dragons. You're truly resembling the divine paragon more and more now, Yuan. The divine paragon was truly someone special. He was a human like the rest of us, but there was something about him that made him stand out from the rest of us. At least this is what some people during his era said. Sometime later, Yanhara asked Yuan, Do you have any questions for me? He nodded and spoke. I want to challenge the demon on the 4th floor again, and I want to defeat it. Can you help me? Yanhara then said, If you want to challenge the pagoda again, you'll have to wait 30 days, and we'll have to pay for the resources by ourselves this time. I am fine with that, Yuan said. Then let me ask you another question. What do you think you need to defeat the demon? She asked him. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.